Secretariat confirmed quorum. I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Permanent Council to consider the matters set forth in the draft order of business document CPOD-2569/25, which, pursuant to Article 43 of the Rules of Procedure, I submit to the Permanent Council. I would also like to ask if we can update the documents contained in items 3 and 4, as they were provided last night by the proposing delegations. If there are no observations, we will proceed to its adoption. Before proceeding, I wish to express our congratulations to the delegations of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica and Panama, on the occasion of the recent observance of their respective national days. The Permanent Council extends its congratulations to the governments and peoples of these sister nations, reiterating its wishes for their well-being, prosperity, and continued progress within the framework of the principles and values we all share in this organization. On another matter, given some of the exceptional circumstances, as the work plan states, would like to state that all negotiations on the text and all comments thereon be provided in a timely way so that we can comply with the rules that govern this organization, which allow the states time for due analysis and make it possible for us as an organization to make more efficient use of our resources. I would like to ask for an exception to the maximum time limit for interventions provided for in Rule 46 of the Rules of Procedure by virtue of the authority that said rule confers for particular cases for the presentation of the progress report of the Secretary General on the roadmap, the Haitian-led roadmap for stability and peace, corresponding to item 2 of today's order of business. At some point, we may have to move that to item 5 if the Secretary General does not arrive in time to present it. I would also, at the request of the delegation of Haiti, I would like to ask the Permanent Council if they could provide a similar exception with respect to the speaking time for that same delegation under that same agenda item. If there are no objections, Brazil. And thank you, Chair. The delegation of Brazil has no issue whatsoever with exceptions to the rule. The idea is that delegations should indicate how long they will take the floor. It's not simply an unlimited exception that has been the customary practice here. And if we have in the past given exceptions without having any idea of how long they will be speaking makes it difficult. So looking forward, it would be important for delegations who request the exceptions express the maximum time they will be speaking. We've seen on occasion delegations, and I'm going back to the past where we would heard 30, 40-minute intervention. So here, I do think it's important to establish the need, as has been done under the chairmanship of both Brazil and Canada, to simply have an idea of how long how much time will be allotted to these delegations. It's not a problem. It's simply to have an idea of how much additional time will be granted. We're not here to oppose the request. It's simply for some justification. And thank you, Brazil. The delegations that have requested the exception both in the previous meeting and this one have presented that, and then the chair was the one who kept them to that time. We asked them to provide further information. We will not just take into consideration the request for exceptions, but the exact amount of time. Now, this chair did make that clear, and we did express that would have to be a reasonable amount of time, 10 minutes in the case of Haiti and 7 minutes in the past when it was Antigua and Barbuda. Hopefully that will help to keep things in their place and allow us to proceed with our work. So thank you to the delegation of Brazil. If there are no exceptions, there was no opposition by Brazil, and simply Brazil was taking the floor to make a statement, and therefore it is approved. Moving on to item 2, the presentation of the progress report by the Secretary General on the Haitian-led roadmap for stability and peace with regional and international support. As the next item on the order of business in response to your request, I'm pleased to welcome and offer the floor to the Secretary General, Albert Ramdin, to present the progress report on the Haitian-led roadmap for stability and peace with regional and international support. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome you. You have the floor, Mr. Secretary General.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you.
Chairperson, I want to say good morning to all the distinguished permanent representatives and delegates, distinguished ambassadors, our colleagues from the Secretariat. First of all, I'd like to say there will be accompanying slide deck, which will come up shortly. I thank you all, member states, for the continued attention and commitment to assisting in the process with regard to the Republic of Haiti, and for the work that has been done so far. Today's presentation, which was promised to be approximately around every 2 months, an update on where we are, is not directly the routine of that promise, but we do feel that it is important to share with you some developments as well as updates. We know the situation in Haiti and the grave concerns which we have. At this point, I would say that we have 2 specific issues which we are focusing on. The first one is security, and I'll speak to that a little bit later more. Security in terms of the activities of gangs and the impact it has on community and also on governance. The second element has to do with governance after February 2026, when the mandate of the Transitional Presidential Council formally ends. Those are the 2 matters which are high. Of course, there are so many other matters, humanitarian assistance, we need to look at the electoral process, but it hinges on these 2 matters very strongly. So if we go to the first slide, I want to confirm that over the past couple of weeks, we have worked with the Haitian leadership, the president of the TCP, the TPC, and also with Prime Minister Filsame. On many occasions, we had phone calls and we consulted in the margins of several meetings. That connection, that relationship with the Haitian leadership is excellent. and I'm very pleased with that. I want to share that with you. Secondly, we have also coordinated with our international partners, the United Nations, where Ambassador Janka, who used to be the Assistant Secretary General, has been replaced. We work very closely with the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General in Haiti, Mr. Massieu, and the technical lead on Haiti, Ms. Flores, in headquarters. But we also work very closely with CARICOM, the eminent persons group, but also CARICOM has determined that there will be a political body that will play a role in that regard. So those communications and coordination efforts continue. And we have also intensified our relationship with the United States mission in Haiti with Ambassador Wooster, but also with State Department here. And I believe it is important that we share that information with you simply because we are getting to a critical point in the context of Haiti. Time is running out, and there is need to step up our commitment in real terms. So I'll speak to that as well. You may have received already, and permanent observers are in the process of receiving, in a formal sense, revision 3 of the roadmap. That roadmap, as the page, the front page indicates, it's a roadmap that includes the priorities identified by the Haitian authorities at the technical level and following the mission, the visit of Prime Minister Phil Sameh a couple of weeks ago at the OAS. That means that at this point, this document called Towards a Haitian-led Roadmap for Stability and Peace with regional and international support is supported by, of course, the OAS, the Republic of Haiti, CARICOM, and also endorsed by the United Nations. And in that context, this revision 3 is a document which is now transformed, translated into specific items in the 5 pillars, where we will ask member states to provide their support. We're focusing on security, political dialogue, and the roadmap towards elections at this stage. Sorry. We go to the next slide. Another important development which took place was the adoption, with support of our membership in very strong ways, was a great signal of the hemisphere to be in a united form supporting the resolution which was adopted in the United Nations Security Council, which is replacing the MSS in this phase in a transition form. The intention is that on the 1st of April, the UN Support Office will be institutionalized in Haiti. We have a gap between January and April to be completed. There are resources that are required. Individually, several member states are speaking with regard to that. But that is one of the urgent matters in terms of the GSF, the Gang Suppression Force, as it is called. And of course, in the context of the Gang Suppression Force, there are many issues that need to be arranged in terms of leadership, in terms of the special representative specifically for the GSF, and also in terms of the financing. These are 3 elements. Putting the force together, have a leadership of the force at military level and at civilian level through the special representative for the GSF. I want to be clear, the special representative of the Secretary General of the UN remains in place. So I don't want to confuse matters further, but there will be a special representative of the OAS Secretary General as well. So maybe we should look at the names so that we don't get confusion, but there will be 3 special representatives, one for the GSF specifically, a civilian. That process will be dealt with in the coming days. There is an appeal for OAS member states to present candidates. I want to repeat that here. that can be done through the standing group of partners at the United Nations. But if there are member states who would like to present a candidate for the special representative for the GSF, then that would be welcomed by all the actors in this field. We continue to work very closely, as I said, with the United Nations office, and in a couple of weeks, on the 12th of November, there will be a virtual meeting among the partners, which is convened by the OAS with a specific agenda, and it focuses on, well, let me say the partners for that meeting will be based on the agenda. The items on the agenda is the United Nations at a political and technical level, the OAS at a political and technical level, the Caribbean community also at both levels, and Haitian leadership. And we have been discussing with the president of the Transitional Presidential Council, Mr. Sansir, the attendance to that meeting, and I'm sure that will be also, given the items on the agenda, also be at a technical level. We follow the lead on Haiti on these matters. Let me be clear about that as well. The lead on Haiti, by Haiti, is important. And beyond that, because of the agenda, we have also included this time in the coordination the U.S. mission in Haiti. That's Ambassador Wooster and his colleagues and others who will join from other parts of the apparatus of the United States. There are 3 items on the agenda, and I hope we can make progress, because I'm a little bit concerned that the gang violence takes an enormous toll on the people of Haiti. It continues, it strengthens. Maybe it's because they don't see action, but I think it's important that we make progress. So, first item on the agenda is security, and specifically the follow-up to the resolution in the United Nations, how the gang suppressing force will be established, who will be contributing to that force, in what, under what guidance, under what rules and regulations of engagement, as well as the financing of that force and the leadership of the force. Those are 3 major elements in the discussion with regard to security. But it is important, as we all know, to start this process sooner than later, because in the vacuum we see movements by the gangs who feel apparently have the space to operate in that impactful way. The second element has to do with political dialogue and governance. Political dialogue, where we strongly listen to CARICOM's perspectives on this, the EPG especially. I will have discussions with the chairman of the Community for Foreign Relations in the margins of one of the upcoming meetings in Santa Marta, because out of that group of foreign ministers, there will be a core group established that will be a counterpart to this coordinating mechanism, and the EPG is much more technical in terms of facilitating conversations and dialogue and consultations. But we look very strongly, given the fact that it was CARICOM's CARICOM as a community that facilitated this mechanism which we have now in place, the TPC. And we know that the TPC has not delivered on what it was expected to deliver, but at the same time, we cannot disregard what has been in place. So in the transition, we must look also at the views of CARICOM, the consultation with relevant parties, and most importantly, the views of the Haitian leadership. And from my understanding, Haitian leadership has been speaking to several authorities, several organizations in Haiti, and we like to hear from them what their views are with regard to securing legitimate, accepted, recognized governance structures after February, first week of February. That will be important because by now, as was stated yesterday by authorities in Haiti as well, the third element, the third item on the agenda, the holding of elections, is something which is quite difficult to achieve before February. So we will need legitimate governance structures, or at least approved governance structures, post-February, to accompany the process of the elections. And that is going to be critical to set out the future agenda for Haiti. Mr. Chairman, I understand my time is up. I didn't hear the bell wrinkle, so I thought you let me go, but I will not abuse time. I'm going to leave it here, but concluding with saying that, as you know, there was the intention of the Secretary to travel to Haiti on around the end of October. Due to Hurricane Melissa, that did not take place. The intention is to do that as soon as possible in collaboration with the Haitian authorities. We are looking now at early December. And if that works out, then we will have an opportunity post the 12th of November meeting to go much more in detail with regard to what needs to be done on the short term. We will make sure you get the presentation in writing, and I want to thank you very much for your attention.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General, and thank you very much for keeping to the time. We thank you very much for your presentation. This council has taken note. I now offer the floor to delegations that would like to refer to this item. I am very pleased to offer the floor first to the delegation of Haiti. Can we move Haiti up to the top of the list? Haiti, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, permanent representatives, distinguished colleagues, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by thanking the Secretary General for his presentation with respect to the progress of the roadmap. The third iteration better reflects Haiti's position with respect to overcome this multidimensional crisis, the crisis in which we are undergoing in my country now. This third version corrects the first two versions, and this is after very intense working days between the OAS and Haiti. Indeed, 27, 28 August, a high-level delegation led up by our Prime Minister, Alix Didier Fils-Aimé, and our Foreign Minister, as well as our Minister of Economy and Finance and other dignitaries, were here in Washington to undertake work with the Secretary General and the different technical bodies of the OAS with response to the strategic orientation to give this roadmap based on the goals defined by Haiti. At that time, we heard from the Foreign Minister of Haiti lay out the important requirements with respect to coordination with the international community. Nothing for Haiti without Haiti. And in that respect, we want to thank all strategic partners of Haiti, the United States of America, which continues to help us find a solution to this multidimensional crisis. We also want to thank the U.S. for the support that they have given with respect to supporting the UN Security Council Resolution 2793, which transformed the multidimensional support force into a gang suppression force. We would likewise like to thank the member states of CARICOM that continue to support us fully through the Eminent Persons Group, above all. And we really appreciate your support. We know that many times you face similar problems to what we face in Haiti. We would like to extend our thanks to Canada in the framework of the OAS is supporting the OAS Secure Haiti group. And we thank Guatemala that has deployed a contingent in Haiti and regularly participates in the UN group on Haiti. We thank Mexico for its ongoing cooperation with Haiti with respect to military training. Big thanks to Brazil and other member states of the organization that have supported the creation of the Gang Suppression Force. Chair, Secretary General, the Republic of Haiti is thrilled to see the progress made with respect to the road map. We think it's going in the right direction. We recognize that we need to lead this roadmap. It needs to be ours. And we need to be leading this based on the needs and priorities of the Haitian people. And for us, these are the imperious principles of this. And the roadmap is based on 5 priority pillars, reflect the strategic objectives which we support. Security, as everyone knows, is the fundamental priority to be able to create the necessary conditions to have any kind of progress in other areas. That is why the Haitian state prioritizes security. This is absolutely necessary to pursue other objectives in other ambits of the roadmap. However, we must recognize that we are facing the need at the same time to look at other challenges of the pillars of the roadmap: stabilization of security, the response to the humanitarian problem, strengthening democracy and governance, institutional legitimacy, and long-term development and economic development. Chair, the task that is ahead of us is enormous. Everything is urgent. And the creation of the gang suppression force is a decisive step forward to bring about security in Haiti. But at the same time, the humanitarian assistance situation is increasingly urgent. That is why the government of Haiti privileges this with respect to targeted actions in keeping with the roadmap. And we want to focus on security, humanitarian assistance, to be able to create the necessary conditions to have elections in a reasonable period of time. And indeed, we can announce that the government is taking action that is targeted, and we are looking at a firm strategy with very targeted objectives. And this strategy is security, humanitarian assistance, and elections. And that strategy consists for the government of redoubling efforts and mobilizing all our means to be able to go forward in our fundamental objective, which is to improve the security environment, to improve the humanitarian situation, and to implement elections as soon as possible. The government is trying to organize elections in Haiti. We're going to put forward a draft in this respect to all political actors in Haiti. And we are assessing the situation of the polls to see where voters can go. This is already been undertaken. We need to also buy materials for the elections of 15,000 tablets in order to purge electoral lists and look at the electoral list. And as you understand, we need to also have a calendar, a schedule. We also need to strengthen political parties. With respect to the elections, we are moving forward in this sense. Chair, Secretary General, colleagues, we recognize that our partners and friends are firmly supporting us to be able to overcome this multidimensional crisis, but that this cannot go on forever. And so I wanted to explain to the Permanent Council that there is the risk of failure in Haiti if we do not do things properly. So I wanted to use an expression which is from our popular wisdom. It talks about what we need to do on the ground. And so this is a cultural reference which maybe others may not understand. But if I make reference to popular wisdom in Haiti, it's to caution you that we should do everything possible in our power so that roadmap is not filled with vain efforts. We don't want that roadmap to end up in the trash can of history. So there are some essential conditions that must be met in order to avoid any of these vain efforts. For example, it is imperative that we give means to, at the same time, simultaneously, to be able to move forward in all areas of the roadmap. Security, Chair. Without security, there are no elections. I thank Haiti. And I'm sorry, the 10 minutes that you requested as a waiver have finished. If it's possible, perhaps you could send us in writing the rest of your presentation. Chair, could you allow me to conclude? I can do that in 2 minutes, please. Yes, exceptionally. Given that this agenda item is on Haiti, I will allow you. Thank you so much, Chair. I was saying there are some essential conditions to not be moving forward or making efforts that are in vain. At the same time, we need to move forward in all areas of the roadmap. But first of all, security is key. Without improving living conditions, without drastically reducing poverty, peace will not be anything but ephemeral. We must consolidate democracy. We must democratize our society. We don't want this to be a failure. We must have a holistic approach to be able to deal with the entire crises. And if we cannot do this, then we will always be in crisis. We need to move holistically. Furthermore, we must have rigorous coordination of the actions of all who are involved. This is absolutely key. We don't want to repeat what happened after the earthquake in Haiti. The lack of a firm and solid coordination would mean that our priorities cannot be met. We will not be successful. We will fail. And So, Chair, solid coordination is a sine qua non condition. It is also politically, economically, and morally an imperative to undertake all efforts to move forward, to refound our economy and society. We need nation building, as we say in modern words. This is a moral imperative. Haitians want to do this, but we need the international community to support us. Chair, and with this I conclude, it is important to keep in mind that we must move forward with the roadmap, thinking about sustainable development and economic development, reduction of inequality as well. Thank you. Thank you very much to Haiti. Now, Costa Rica has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, permanent representatives, delegates. Costa Rica would like to thank the presentation of this updated roadmap for Haiti, which reflects the efforts of Secretary Ramdin and his team to be able to address one of the most complex crises of our region. We appreciate that this new iteration also includes important things like updated data, an approach on structural causes of violence, and an explicit recognition of the need to protect women, children, and the most vulnerable. Secretary General, as you just said in your presentation, the human face of the crisis must be the priority when we are addressing this situation. As we have said this many times, our delegation believes that this roadmap is a solid foundation to move forward to have a holistic solution led up by the Haitian people with international support that is consistent and respectful. Costa Rica reiterates its commitment to continue to collaborate with this collective effort, convinced that only with coordination, transparency, and political will we be able to contribute to restore peace, security, and hope in Haiti. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador. Colombia has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone, to you, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, and other members of the head table. Colleagues, first of all, we want to thank the Secretary General for his presentation and updating of the roadmap for stability and peace led by Haiti, as was underscored by the Secretary General. This document is an effort that brings together governance, electoral processes, humanitarian assistance, sustainable development, and security, offering a consistent vision with respect to the current challenges Haiti is facing. Colombia values this coordinated approach based on regional solidarity and respect for the Haitian lead. We believe that the Haiti having ownership over this, over their institutions, diaspora, political bodies, this is an essential condition for this to be sustainable and legitimate. We highlight that we need ongoing coordination between the OAS, the UN, and CARICOM, as well as other multilateral partners to avoid any duplication of efforts. In this framework, the OAS can continue to be a political facilitator and a body that mobilizes cooperation, always respecting the roles of each institution. We celebrate the 5 strategic pillars of the roadmap: stabilization and security, governance, political consensus, electoral processes, and institutional strengthening. humanitarian response, sustainable and economic development, because every pillar should translate itself into specific steps with a reasonable calendar to benefit the Haitian people. The success of this strategy will depend on the rigorous planning, transparency, accountability, and clearly identified sources of financing, as well as our persistence in maintaining our commitment beyond this immediate crisis. This approach will allow us to rebuild institutions, create opportunities, and also strengthen the society's trust in its leaders. Chair, Colombia reaffirms its firm commitment and decisive commitment to the Haitian people. For President Gustavo Petro, supporting Haiti is not just a diplomatic duty, it's a moral and political duty to history and our region. Haiti was the first country to open up its doors to freedom in Latin America. And so we must support them with our solidarity as they showed us solidarity in history. We will continue to use our national capacities and our strengths in institutional strengthening and peacekeeping to contribute to a prosperous and democratic Haiti that is an owner of its history. We want to continue to work with the Secretary General, the Haitian institutions, and regional and international partners to turn this roadmap into a direct and effective tool. Coherence in action, Haitian leadership, these are key to be able to be successful. Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. Guatemala has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to greet the Secretary General and the Assistant Secretary General, distinguished permanent representatives, delegates, and observers who are here today. The delegation of Guatemala thanks the Secretary General Albert Ramdim for his presentation on the progress of the Haitian-led roadmap for stability and peace. And we appreciate the commitment of the Secretary General and his technical team through an approach that is strengthening partners with international bodies, strategic partners, and local actors. We underscore the role of Haiti and its people and the support of CARICOM and the UN to consolidate a common approach with tangible results to bring about stability in Haiti. This is a strategy based on political consensus, humanitarian response, electoral legitimacy, and sustainable development. Chair, Guatemala is convinced that only through collective action that are sustainable can we go forward with durable peace. So we support the Roadmap Initiative, and on October 14th, we told the General Secretariat that we would like to provide technical cooperation through the exchange of national experiences which can help to execute the actions in the roadmap. Our proposal for technical support is focused on Pillar 1 with respect to stabilization of security, Pillar 4 with respect to humanitarian assistance, and 5 with respect to sustainable and economic development. We want to contribute with our training of police, prevention of gangs, and help with the borders and young people. Exchange also with respect to implementing nutritional public policies and strengthening also capacity building and mitigation and preventing natural disasters. Together with this, and since we are a peaceful country, we want to also provide a military police unit, which it consists of 150 military police that have worked on gang prevention. This in keeping with a UN resolution that was adopted September 30th. So we will be deploying these additional military police in April. And so we are committed to our sister people, Haiti. We want to reiterate our thanks with respect to the progress made in this roadmap, and we urge the Secretary General to continue these efforts. Guatemala, taking into account the principles of cooperation, the rule of law, and solidarity, commits to supporting Haiti together with regional and international partners to have a consistent and coordinated response that is led up by the Haitian people. Thank you.
Gracias. A continuación.
Thank you. Brazil has the floor. Thank you, Chair. Brazil would like to thank the Secretary General for this new version of the Haitian-led roadmap. And we believe that this document has important changes, especially with respect to the gang suppression force. We believe that it's also positive to have more Haitian-led efforts and fighting gender-based violence. It's important also to have a transition with respect to security forces. We believe with this revision, the OAS can move forward in implementing the roadmap. It would be wonderful if we could get periodical reports with respect to the deepening of OAS actions and more visibility with respect to the situation in Haiti. Brazil continues to support efforts to put an end to this multidimensional crisis. Melissa, the hurricane, of course, has made this much worse. And we want to see security and law and order in Haiti. We need to have regional support for this. We need to also strengthen the National Haitian Police through training and basic training. We support this through a cooperation program to help the Haitian police. Bilaterally, we are open to exchanging information with Haiti to contribute to this new mission with a long-term solution that is needed. We need to develop economic opportunities as recognized in the roadmap. We believe that we could help in training and we can try to help demobilize young people who are involved in gangs. We have programs on disarmament, and we think that they can be key. As we have said in the past, we should try to define a new cooperation program which can lead to security, environmental improvement, better health, and better agriculture. We want to underscore the importance of the Secretary General's role and the support of the Haitian people in these efforts, because we need to try to resolve many things by February 2026. Therefore, we need an electoral calendar and also actions in this sense. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brazil. Mexico has the floor. Thank you, Chair. Mexico takes note of the presentation made by the Secretary General Albert Ramdin with respect to this third version of the roadmap for Haiti, and we thank him. We are thrilled to see the advancements made, especially the updating, which has to do with based on the approval of the UN Resolution 2793, which was adopted in September 2025, and the clear reference to Haitian leadership as a guiding principle with respect to all international action, and to know that every action must have the consent of Haitian national leaders. In that same sense, Mexico believes that the next version should have a annex on humanitarian assistance under Pillar 5 so that we can see the coordination between humanitarian cooperation, and sustainable development. We take note of the recognition of the UN leadership with respect to the international response to this crisis and the role of the OAS within the framework of its mandates, appreciating its value added with respect to technical support and hemispheric coordination in cooperation with CARICOM, Haitian leaders, and the UN. Nevertheless, we believe that given the breadth and width of the roadmap, we should consider the fact that perhaps financial resources are not sufficient for the goals set out. Thus, we need to prioritize and have targeted measures and avoid duplication of efforts of other actors. Mexico reiterates its commitment to continue to strengthen its bilateral cooperation with Haiti, which is focused on peace, security, and well-being of Haitians through the implementation of programs which support institutional consolidation and also helping strategic sectors. We will continue to collaborate with Haitian leaders to identify new cooperation programs with respect to defense, civilian defense, strengthening institutions, and technical assistance, like the recent training of 140 members of the military that took place in Mexico, including 15 women who finished this military training program successfully. Mexico has also made important contributions to the UN Trust Fund for Haiti and reiterates its willingness to continue to support multilateral initiatives that will give a focused response based on the needs of the Haitian people and also aimed at creating peace, stability, and sustainable development. We appreciate the leadership of Secretary General Ramdi.
A continuación.
Thank you very much, Mexico. Chile has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Chile's commitment to stability and progress in Haiti has been constant and has been around for a long time. Chile, for more than a decade, was part of the mission on stabilization of the UN in Haiti to support justice. We have worked in development and institutional strengthening, provided humanitarian assistance and assistance in the case of natural disasters, and micro businesses for young people and other vulnerable individuals. The large Haitian community in Chile who do contribute to our society are highly valued. Chile trusts that the UN Resolution 2793 will significantly contribute to stabilization and security in Chile. Chile values the progress report provided by the Secretary General and agrees with its guiding principles, particularly in terms of Haitian leadership, CARICOM, and the UN, and the introduction of human rights as a cross-cutting pillar. And for Chile, and this is some constructive advice, we think it is important that this be developed consistent with institutional capacity. We have to have governance and a division of roles, the Office of Support from the UN, CARICOM, and the OAS, avoiding duplication of efforts. And also we have to clarify sources of funding and to ensure that new commitments are funded. Along these lines, Chile values the adoption of the recovery funds to facilitate the participation of the organization in some of the actions considered in the roadmap. We also must recall Haitian leadership anything that is approved must be agreed upon with the Haitian authorities. Chile supports operations being strictly governed by international humanitarian law, international law, human rights law, with special protection for women, children, and groups in special situations of vulnerability. Mr. Chairman, Chile is steadfast in its commitment to addressing regional conflict. We express our support for the Haitian people. We believe that there is a path forward that is prosperous and development with the support of the international community. Thank you very much. Uruguay now has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. And we too would like to thank the Secretary General for his presentation and for the update of the roadmap for Haiti. We believe that this third version reflects substantive efforts to strengthen international coordination and incorporate elements that make it possible to strengthen ownership by Haitian authorities and institutions. We believe that it is important that all components that are part of this roadmap be consistent with the OAS Charter and the values of the organization. Uruguay, therefore, believes it is particularly relevant to include language on the role of the OAS as far as security is concerned, as well as what other delegations have said to avoid duplication of efforts by the organization. This GSF and the support mission of the UN. This is something that can be useful for coordinating efforts for this stabilization force. We would also like to underscore the need for a humanitarian response as part of the roadmap, and that it be coordinated as part of the humanitarian response plan with the UN group on Haiti. This must be consistent with international law, international humanitarian law, and human rights. Uruguay believes that addressing the root cause of this multidimensional situation is crucial. We would support the inclusion in the roadmap of references to accountability in order to address weapons and drug trafficking and maritime and port security. We would also like to thank you for having included the addressing of the situation of women and children and adolescents in Haiti. We would ask the Secretary General in this roadmap to prioritize this matter. We hope that the IACHR and the Inter-American Institute on the Child can document the situation affecting women, children, and adolescents. And I do believe that this is where the OAS could help to forge a historic path of reparations for women in the case of sexual violence and the violation of human rights that we've heard reported on numerous occasions. We must ensure non-repetition of this situation. Looking forward, Uruguay welcomes this new version, and we support the OAS, CARICOM, and the UN to work with the Haitian authorities to prevent a political vacuum after February 26th. And like Brazil, we would like to see as soon as possible an electoral schedule that will bring us to a positive conclusion. We appreciate updated information. We think that the new version has addressed a bit of the budget, which this mission is interested in. And also based on what the Secretary General stated, the visit and contacts, we would like to see some detailed or disaggregated information, particularly about funding and some of the priorities that the members have requested. Uruguay would like to reiterate its thanks for all of the efforts and express our disposal to constructively participate in the building of this roadmap. Thank you very much, Uruguay. Grenada, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, Secretary General, ASG, colleagues. Grenada welcomes this third version of the Haitian-led roadmap for solidarity and peace, and commends and thanks the Secretary General for maintaining and strengthening this focus. We see this document as an important convergence of priorities: Haitian ownership, regional leadership, international coherence. The key now, as we see it, is alignment. Aligning vision, ensuring coordination, and delivery. 3 points stand out for Grenada. Legitimacy, shown as important in this third version. External support must reinforce Haitian sovereignty. Security and reconstruction. The multinational mission, which now also include the GSF with UN Resolution 2793, must work hand in hand with civilian rebuilding and social recovery, solutions to humanitarian situation, because peace must be measurable in the lives of the ordinary people. Grenada supports closer institutional coordination between CARICOM at both the technical and political level, the OAS and the United Nations, ensuring one coherent platform for assistance. The third version goes a long way into that, and your presentation this morning, as Secretary General, assures us of that. We emphasized, though, that trust, not only funding, not only military assets, trust is the foundation for lasting progress. We hear that from the Haitian intervention this morning. Grenada reaffirms solidarity with Haiti and readiness to contribute to the extent we can through technical expertise and targeted cooperation. We commit to working with you, Secretary General, and all the partners to make this roadmap a living framework for Haitian renewal and recovery. I thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Grenada, for your intervention. The Dominican Republic now has the floor. Thank you and good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, and distinguished representatives. The Dominican Republic welcomes the presentation of the progress report by the Secretary General on the Haitian-led roadmap on stability and peace with regional and international cooperation. And with this type of accountability before the Permanent Council, it is an exercise in transparency and follow-up which strengthens the collective commitment to stability in the Caribbean. We know that this comes at a particularly important moment after the presentation of the third version of the roadmap. This document consolidates a more consistent roadmap for international coordination. It reflects significant progress and coordination between the OAS, the United Nations, CARICOM, and the Inter-American Development Bank. It is also shows clear integration of the GSF as part of the security apparatus approved by the UN Security Council. The Dominican Republic salutes this conversion and believes it is essential for the OAS to continue to play a coordinating role, especially at the political level and with technical cooperation and hemispheric follow-up on the process in Haiti. We reiterate that security and institutional governance must continue to be the pillars upon which any action is based, any humanitarian, economic, and sustainable development activities. Our country has been witness to the regional impact of the crisis in Haiti. We express our firm, responsible solidarity. We believe that enduring peace in Haiti will only be possible with strengthened Haitian leadership and coordinated support from the international community, as well as respect for the sovereignty of all states in the region, including Dominican sovereignty, and particularly when it comes to regional coexistence. We will continue to work constructively with this initiative, which we believe contributes to stability and the recovery of democracy in Haiti in the framework of a realistic and cooperative framework, one that is geared toward results. We would like to thank the Secretary General for providing these periodic progress reports so that we can identify challenges and make adjustments to cooperation instruments in a more targeted way. Thank you very much. Now Argentina has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. We too would like to thank the Secretary General for having presented the progress report. We underscored the hemispheric consensus on the joint declaration of the OAS calling for coordinated action with the UN supporting the Haitian roadmap. We also support at a multilateral level the initiatives that work into stabilizing the country, leading to democratic consolidation, security, and the reduction of violence for the development of the Haitian people. Argentina has demonstrated in the past its commitment to the process in Haiti. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Argentina. The United States now has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The United States thanks the Secretary General for his update on the Haitian-led roadmap for stability and peace. We recognize the continued efforts by the OAS and our regional partners to support the Haitian people during this grave moment. As U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz underscored recently, this is not a crisis that can be ignored or deferred. It demands urgent, coordinated, and decisive action. Our position remains clear. Haiti's most pressing needs are security and governance. The United States therefore welcomes the Security Council's adoption of Resolution 2793, establishing the Gang Suppression Force and a UN support office in Haiti to deliver the kind of robust, coordinated action this situation requires. These mechanisms, complemented by the OAS's Secure Haiti initiative, represent the most practical way to stabilize the situation on the ground, while laying a foundation for Haiti's return to constitutional order through free and fair elections. We view the roadmap as a useful reference point, but progress must be measured by implementation, by restored territorial control, protection of civilians, and credible electoral preparation. The OAS has unique comparative strengths in these areas, supporting electoral integrity, strengthening democratic institutions, and fostering regional coordination. That is where this organization can make the greatest difference. The United States continues to act decisively, designating violent gangs as terrorist organizations, seizing arms shipments, and supporting those who are risking their lives to secure Haiti's future. We again commend Kenya's leadership of the MSS mission and the contributions of Panama, Jamaica, the Bahamas, Belize, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Canada, whose efforts demonstrate the value of collective regional resolve. The path ahead must remain focused on results: security restored, institutions functioning, and elections held. The Haitian people deserve the right to live in peace and to choose their leaders freely. The United States will continue to support efforts through the UN, OAS, and our regional partners that deliver concrete outcomes over rhetoric. Thank you.
Gracias por su
And thank you very much. And Canada now has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada would like to thank the Secretary General for the progress report on the Haitian-led roadmap, and we thank OAS for helping and supporting the Haitian people. We appreciate the new approach, which underscores Haitian leadership in coordination with member states of the OAS and other strategic partners in order to implement the roadmap. We believe it is very important to have a roadmap that is Haitian-led and is focused on governance, security, and development, as well as the recognition that no actor can or should take on this burden. This approach, based on partnership and complementarity, fully reflects the spirit of the resolution adopted at our General Assembly in June.
Is ambitious and timely, Canada believes that greater clarity and precision are now required to ensure that this framework translates effectively into action. The document spans 5 pillars, from security stabilization and political consensus to humanitarian assistance and sustainable development. And while this breadth illustrates the complexity of the crisis, it also risks blurring the boundaries between what falls within the OAS's core comparative advantage and what properly belongs to the mandates of other multilateral and bilateral partners. Canada encourages a clearer delineation of the sphere of OAS intervention. From our reading, the OAS's most tangible and legitimate contributions lie in the first 3 pillars: security stabilization, political consensus and governance support, and electoral legitimacy. Beyond this, the OAS's engagement in the humanitarian and sustainable development pillars could be as a facilitator if required. The roadmap usefully references the work of the UN, IDB, PAHO, and IICA. However, the language could more explicitly acknowledge that those institutions, not the OAS, possess the mandates, structures, and resources to lead in these sectors. Canada would therefore welcome a more operational articulation of the OAS's contribution under each pillar, perhaps in a concise matrix that distinguishes between direct implementation, coordination, and advocacy functions. Such a document would help partners to understand where the OAS intends to act and with what resources and in collaboration with whom. It would also ensure that the organization's visibility is matched by a realistic assessment of its capacity. Further, Canada would appreciate clarification on 3 points. First, how will the coordinating group mechanism interface with existing frameworks such as the UN Security Council Mandated Support Office, the CARICOM Eminent Persons Group, and the IDB's Recovery and Development Plan? Second, how will resource mobilization be sequenced to avoid duplication of donor efforts already underway through the UN Trust Fund and IDB channels? Third, how will the special representative of the OAS, once appointed, relate institutionally to the Permanent Council and ensure regular reporting to member states? Mr. Chair, Canada's objective is not to limit ambition, but to sharpen focus and enhance collective effectiveness. We strongly support this initiative and the leadership shown by the Secretary General in maintaining OAS engagement on Haiti. Canada reiterates its unwavering support for a Haitian-led, regionally coordinated, and rights-based approach to stabilization and recovery. We remain ready to work closely with the General Secretariat, with CARICOM, the United Nations, and our hemispheric partners to translate this roadmap into concrete, measurable progress for the people of Haiti. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for your comments. The observer mission of the Holy See now has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair, for offering me the floor. The delegation of the Holy See takes note of the presentation made by His Excellency, the Secretary General Albert Randin, on the Haitian-led roadmap on stability and peace with regional and international support. And we have also closely followed the significant interventions made by the member states. This roadmap is a tool for placing at the heart of the discussions the dramatic reality in Haiti with its socio-political and humanitarian dimensions that have been exacerbated by violence by armed groups and the impacts of climate change, for example, the impact of the devastating Hurricane Melissa, which we will also address in today's meeting. In the Pope Leo on October 16th referred to scenarios of death and pain in many countries, among them the situation for the Haitian people, the hungry faces of so many who continue to suffer. They call upon us and they invite us to change our ways of life, our priorities, and our way of living in the world today. And so I wanted to call upon this international forum to understand, to look at how many people lack drinking water, food, and decent housing, decent work, among others, so that we can share our compassion with those who live with despair and tears. The international community cannot look away and ignore their suffering. Given the multidimensional crisis in Haiti, the Holy See values the efforts made by the General Secretariat in keeping with the most recent mandate from the General Assembly. We once again reaffirm our support and our solidarity with the people of Haiti and our support for peace and stability. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. The Secretary General now has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for allowing us to respond very quickly, very briefly. First of all, I'd like to thank all member states for the support they have indicated and the questions and issues they have raised. We will take them on board and we'll come back to you on that. Secondly, I'd like to say that we have a great team at the OAS working on this matter. So I want to also recognize them and thank them for their work, because this is really dedication beyond their regular jobs. I want to mention that within the institution, we have started the process of arranging in all areas a little bit more of coordination between the different units, so that we have one single window with regard to Haiti, and we will keep you informed of the finalization of that as well. It goes from procurement to collaboration, synergy building, but as we said earlier, the need for a special mission is there, and that will be led by the special representative. Thirdly, I'd like to mention, in completion of my update, that we have also been in conversations with Ambassador Monica Juma of Kenya, and I want to recognize Kenya's leadership over the past couple of months in terms of the security situation in Haiti. Of course, the transition will take place now, but I wanted to put that on the record, because we continue to speak with Kenya on how they would like to get engaged and how other partners in Africa would like to support this process. I want to also mention that support to Haiti, while we are discussing a plan, support to Haiti continues in different ways as we speak. And I'm going to make sure that we submit to you a report on the assistance which is being provided in different areas. And as far as we know what member states are doing, we'll put that also in such a update, so that you have a clear idea about that while we're speaking about a more comprehensive, holistic plan, support in security, in ID registration and issuing of ID cards continues. And the efforts to find resources for those are also continuing. The last point has to do with mobilizing other partners in this process. And yesterday I signed with the Latin American Business Council a memorandum of understanding whereby they will provide, as Latin American Business Council, support to Haiti, specifically in the areas of education, financial inclusion, and food security, but also promote investments, business investments to create jobs and productivity in the safe areas in the Republic of Haiti. And lastly, I want to mention that we have called And we have supported calls for resumption of two important facilities provided by the United States, the HOPE Act and the HELP Act, to support investments and to secure jobs as we continue building resilience in Haiti for the Haitian people. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much to you, Mr. Secretary General. Seeing no further requests for the floor, I reiterate our thanks to the Secretary General and his team for the presentation of the progress report and for your efforts in implementing the Haitian-led roadmap for stability and peace with regional and international support. Along these lines, the Chair suggests that the Permanent Council take note of the Secretary General's report as well as the interventions of the delegations, which will be included in the minutes of today's meeting. Would also like to invite the General Secretary to continue to provide up-to-date information such that member states can closely monitor the implementation of the roadmap in follow-up to the mandate set forth in General Assembly Resolution 3039. If there are no objections, we so agree. Let's move now to item 3, consideration of the draft declaration support for democracy and constitutional order in Guatemala. As the next item on our agenda, and in response to a request made by the delegation of Guatemala, it falls to this Permanent Council to consider the draft declaration entitled Support for Democracy and Constitutional Order in Guatemala, distributed yesterday and co-sponsored by the delegations. I'll leave this to the ambassador so that I don't make any mistakes. This is in document CP/doc 6159/25 Rev 1. To that end, I am pleased to offer the floor to the delegation of Guatemala for the presentation of the aforementioned draft declaration. Ambassador, you have the floor. And thank you very much, Chair, esteemed Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, distinguished permanent representatives, delegates, and observers. On behalf of the government of the Republic of Guatemala, I am honored to address this Permanent Council to thank you for your support and the inclusion of this item on today's order of business in the support for democracy and constitutional order in Guatemala. Is sponsored by the missions of Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Honduras, United States, Mexico, Paraguay, the Dominican Republic, and Uruguay. Other missions have also expressed support for the declaration presented to the Permanent Council in a timely manner. This initiative is in follow-up to deliberations during the special General Assembly and reflects the democratic spirit that the delegations expressed at the time when we addressed the challenges faced by the government of Guatemala to defend institutional democracy in the country. During that special meeting, the Foreign Minister, Alvarado, reaffirmed the President's support for democracy and the protection of the sovereign will of the Guatemalan people and free and fair elections in the 2023 elections and strengthening the rule of law. The text seeks to reflect that spirit, reiterating the willingness of member states to support the people and government of Guatemala in consolidating democracy and including all three branches of government as well as the autonomous nations and law enforcement to act strictly in line with the Constitution of the Republic of Guatemala, rule of law, and the democratic principles like the independence of branches, respect for due process, and human rights standards. The draft recognizes the importance of protecting electoral integrity, justice, and fundamental rights. Along those lines, We welcome the decision of the Secretary General to establish a special mission for strengthening democratic institutions in Guatemala, which will support the key processes of the selection of judicial authorities in 2026. The context concludes by requesting that the Secretary General work with the Permanent Council and some of the actions of support that the organization will be driving. As the Foreign Minister Martinez Alvarado stated, unfortunately, there are legal actions that are seeking to undermine democracy in Guatemala. However, on October 29th, the Constitutional Court ruled in favor of an amparo action for a judgment from December of 2023, stating that judicial actions that violate the Constitution and electoral rules to be invalid, and state that the judge who is involved should refrain from engaging in acts that could violate constitutional order, recalling that the results of the election cannot be changed. This is an important step in defending institutional democracy, but it shows that the actions of the public prosecutor's office have tried to undermine the government. The public prosecutor's office is conducting more than 20 investigations of corruption, while no progress has been made in more than 300 reports made by the executive with respect to the previous administration. This shows that there is a selective use of criminal law, and this has become an instrument for political persecution against government officials, human rights defenders, journalists, as well as indigenous authorities. We reiterate that this pattern of actions gravely threatens constitutional order and the principles enshrined in the OAS Charter and the Inter-American Democratic Charter. And therefore, it is important that this organization and its member states continue to support the people and government of Guatemala in a firm way to defend democracy. It's important to note that senior authorities in 2026 and magistrate to the Supreme Court and the Constitutional Court, as well as the Attorney General, among other key authorities, will be determining factors for the future of our democracy. And these should respond to the interests of the people and not to structures that seek to maintain privilege outside of the law. On behalf of the government of Guatemala, we would like to express our thanks to the organization and all member states for your active support. The actions of anti-democratic actors that are seeking to undermine the will of the Guatemalan people are a threat to rule of law that we cannot allow. Respect for constitutional order is the basis for stability, democratic legitimacy, and people's trust in institutions. We would like to thank the delegations have expressed their firm support, and we respectfully request the support of all delegations. And with support for this declaration, the OAS is sending a clear message that in the Americas, democracy is a living commitment, a common cause, and collective responsibility. And the defense of Guatemalan democracy is a hemispheric cause at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the delegation of Guatemala for presenting this draft declaration to the Permanent Council. So the chair would like to ask the member states whether there is any opposition to this draft declaration. If there is not, then we can adopt this by acclamation. I see no objection to Guatemala's draft declaration. It is adopted by acclamation. Thank you very much. I'd now like to offer the floor to those delegations who would like to refer to the declaration that we just approved. Costa Rica, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Ambassador Claudia Escobar, Permanent Representative of Guatemala, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, the delegation of Costa Rica would like to thank you for addressing the situation in the Republic of Guatemala. We are guided by a fundamental principle, the defense of democracy, the rule of law as the foundation of peace, stability, and cooperation in the Americas. In this spirit, Costa Rica would like to express its full support for the Guatemalan people and President Bernardo Arevalo, who was elected through free and fair elections. As confirmed by the Electoral Observation Mission of our organization, popular will must be respected without any delays and without any conditions. Democracy must be defended every day. Costa Rica does this with conviction, and it welcomes the fact that this organization, through Secretary General Ramdin, its Assistant Secretary General, and Permanent Council, continue to be vigilant and committed. In this framework, we support the draft declaration presented by Guatemala, and that was just adopted by consensus. We appreciate the creation of a special mission for institutional strengthening, and we trust that the OAS will continue to support technically and impartially the national efforts to consolidate transparency, justice, and social peace. Finally, Chairman, Secretary General, Costa Rica makes an appeal to the organization to reaffirm its role as the collective guarantor of democracy in the Americas. Any attempt to undermine popular will must be reacted to, and we must make sure that the principles contained in the Inter-American Democratic Charter are respected. We want to have peace and peaceful coexistence in our region, and that is the way. Thank you. Colombia, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair, and I want to join with Costa Rica in greeting everyone at the head table. My president, Petro, would like to express its solidarity with the people and government of Guatemala. We recognize the steps forward with respect to preservation of popular will that was expressed in the 2023 elections. The text that we just adopted reaffirms the principles of the Inter-American Democratic Charter: popular sovereignty, separation of powers, and respect for due process and human rights. These are pillars of all democracies, and let us not forget that. As we stated at the special session on this issue, it is regrettable that we see these threats to the rule of law and that are trying to erode electoral outcomes. Recent experiences in Guatemala, as we see in the reports of electoral observation missions, we see the politicization of justice, and that there are attempts to undermine legitimate elections, and that this is a threat to democracy. We welcome the Constitutional Court's ruling, which reaffirmed the fact that electoral outcomes, the outcomes from 2023, cannot be altered ex post. We also appreciate the statements made by President Arevalo. We appreciate his steps to fight corruption. These efforts should be supported fully by all of us. And we want to support the Guatemalan people with technical support, as well as political and moral support, ensuring that the special mission to strengthen institutions contribute effectively to ensure integrity of all powers. We must have independent justice and to ensure that all those who were elected can actually do their jobs without pressure and can fulfill their mandates and terms. So we urge all institutional and social actors in Guatemala to have a respectful, inclusive, and constructive dialogue that can strengthen trust in institutions and can enable the necessary reforms to consolidate the rule of law. Chair, the defense of defense of democracy in Guatemala shows that we support democratic values, solid institutions, impartial justice, and citizen participation are the foundations for democracy in the entire hemisphere. Thank you. Thank you, Colombia. Now, the United States has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We believe this declaration in support of democracy and constitutional order captures what is most important and central to the matter at hand today, the commitment of the OAS and its member states to a democratic Guatemala. We call on Guatemalan institutions and other responsible actors to work together on ensuring the continued stability of the strong partnership the United States has forged with President Arevalo's government. In doing so, the United States will continue to advance its cooperation on our core shared interests, stopping illegal and large-scale migration, fighting transnational criminal organizations or narco-traffickers, and deepening economic partnerships to enhance prosperity in our hemisphere. Thank you, Chair.
Muchas gracias, Estados Unidos.
Thank you, United States, for your intervention. Mexico has the floor. Thank you, Chair. Mexico recognizes Guatemala's initiative to present this draft declaration, support for democracy and constitutional order in Guatemala that was just adopted by this permanent council, and this shows the importance of respecting the sovereignty of the Guatemalan people, which was expressed in the polls in 2023. We reiterate what we stated at the special session of the permanent council, which took place on 30th October, and its trust in the Guatemalan people and their ability to preserve constitutional order and the rule of law. We reaffirm our links of friendship that bring together our peoples and governments, and we will continue to strengthen our bilateral relationship based on constitutional principles for our foreign policy, always for the well-being of our people. We believe that representative democracy is absolutely necessary for stability and peace and development in the region. Thank you, Mexico. Panama has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. The delegation of Panama would like to express its full support for the declaration that was presented by the Permanent Mission of Guatemala, which is entitled Support for Democracy and Constitutional Order in Guatemala. We are true to our historic commitment to democratic principles in the Inter-American Democratic Charter and the OAS Charter, and we believe that this declaration is a timely exercise in hemispheric solidarity with the Guatemalan people and its democratic institutions. Democracy in our region is a daily conquest, and we must be always vigilant, and we must have a firm commitment to our institutions. When we see events that threaten the constitutional order in any brotherly country, we cannot remain indifferent. Democracy is one, it's everyone's. Panama recognizes and celebrates the fact that the 2023 elections were carried out legitimately as certified by international electoral observation missions, including that of our organization. the Guatemalan people exercise their sovereign right to vote, electing President Bernardo Arévalo de León, among others. This popular will must be respected without conditions and without question. It is for this reason that we are very concerned about recent events that have led to political tensions and institutional tensions in Guatemala. The decisions that are attempting to question people that have been legitimately elected to their office erodes people's trust in institutions, and this weakens democracy in the country. The Panamanian experience has showed us that the strength of democracy is not only because elections are celebrated, rather the ongoing respect of the outcomes thereof, separation of powers, and due process, effective protection also of human rights. These are not principles that can be negotiated or can be interpreted depending on political circumstances of the moment. For this reason, Chair, Panama supports the operational paragraphs of this declaration. We appreciate the appeal to all institutions in Guatemala to act in strict adherence to inter-American principles and the Constitution. Separation of powers is not an obstacle for governance. It is its foundation. Independence of justice is guaranteeing law and order. We welcome the designation of a special mission to strengthen institutions in Guatemala. The OAS plays a fundamental role, that of supporting and providing technical assistance in an independent and impartial way. Chair, democracy in the Americas faces many challenges: transnational organized crime, corruption, inequality, the erosion of trust in institutions. But none of these challenges can be effectively addressed without genuine commitment to the rule of law and the Constitution. We believe that we must go down the democratic process and pathway as expressed by the Guatemalan people. We express our solidarity with our brotherly country, Guatemala. We want to have respect, mutual respect between political actors. We want to have strong institutions in Guatemala, and that way Guatemala can consolidate an effective and resilient democracy. We appeal to all member states to join with us in this support. Defense of democracy in Guatemala is the defense of democracy throughout the hemisphere. When we support the constitutional order in one sister country, we are showing our support for democracy. For these reasons, the Republic of Panama will continue to support the strengthening of democracy in Guatemala, because by doing so, we reaffirm our own democratic values and we are creating well-being in our hemisphere. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Uruguay has the floor. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank the ambassador from the Republic of Guatemala for the presentation of this declaration. Uruguay supports and backs the defense of the rule of law and democracy in Guatemala. We welcome the fact that this declaration demands respect for popular will expressed in free and fair elections in Guatemala. We also urge some institutions from the public ministry and others, we urge them to stop trying to threaten certain processes like the electoral processes. We want to support the designation of figures from the judiciary next year, and we support strengthening of democratic institutions. For Uruguay, this declaration that was just adopted by acclamation is very important for Guatemala. But we also believe it is extremely important because it means that we can adopt decisive actions to defend democracy within the inter-American sphere when there are actors that are trying to undermine in an imminent manner democratic institutions in any of our countries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Uruguay. The Dominican Republic has the floor. Thank you, Chair. The delegation of the Dominican Republic would like to thank the Chair of the Permanent Council for including on the order of business of this regular meeting consideration of the draft declaration, support for democracy and constitutional order in Guatemala. We recognize the effort of the delegation of Guatemala, which has promoted this initiative. We reiterate our firm commitment to democracy, the respect for the rule of law, and the preservation of the constitutional order in the Republic of Guatemala, as our foreign minister stated before this permanent council last week. In that sense, since we are co-sponsors of this declaration, we do this because we are convinced that strengthening democratic institutions in Guatemala is essential for stability and well-being of the entire hemisphere. Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Thank you, Dominican Republic. Now, Grenada has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. My delegation approaches this discussion with a spirit of respect for the people of Guatemala, respect for the principles that bind us as member states, and for the enduring ideals of the Inter-American Democratic Charter. We recall that democracy is not merely a system of periodic elections. It is constant and a delicate balance of rights and responsibilities, of freedoms and constraints, of powers that must remain separate but always accountable to the people. The situation before us, as presented by the distinguished delegation of Guatemala, invites reflection on that balance. Guatemala has requested that this council take note of its current constitutional circumstances and affirm its democratic standing. It is perhaps not unusual for a nation facing internal tensions to seek reassurance that its institutions remain understood, respected, and supported by its hemispheric family. Yet, our task is not only to endorse, but, as we see it, to remind. For democracy to thrive, there must be an unwavering fidelity to the rule of law, to judicial independence, and to the integrity of the electoral mandate freely expressed by the people. These are pillars that hold up the democratic infrastructure everywhere. If anyone weakens, then the structure shakes to a fall. We therefore take note with interest of the decision of the Guatemalan Constitutional Court reaffirming the legitimacy of the 2023 elections and the unalterable will of the people. Such judicial clarity, when anchored in constitutional propriety as it is, can strengthen confidence in national institutions and make it easy for regional concern to address what is brought to us. At the same time, Grenada believes that sovereignty and non-interference remains indispensable to peace and cooperation among nations. In this regard, I agree with the Foreign Minister of Guatemala who, in his intervention to the special session of the PC last week, counseled that the OAS must always walk that careful line, promoting democracy without presumption, offering accompaniment without intrusion, and ensuring that our collective voice uplifts rather than divides. I paraphrase him there. We commend efforts that seek to frame our solidarity around the strengthening of institutions and the separation of powers and the promotion of transparency and justice. These are values to which every state in our hemisphere aspires, including my own. Mr. Chair, colleagues, democracy in its truest form is not the absence of tension, we know. It is the presence of lawful means to resolve tension where they exist. When dialogue, due process, and mutual respect prevail, democracy is renewed, not diminished, by its challenges. Grenada stands, therefore, for the principles and not the politics of this discussion, and therefore we have supported this declaration. We stand for the constitutional order, for sovereignty tempered by accountability, and for the continuing belief that nations grow stronger when their people trust that justice and fairness remain the sure foundation, when sovereignty is respected. Thank you, Chair.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Grenada. Chile has the floor now. Thank you very much. Chile would like to express its full support and solidarity for the Guatemalan people in their defense of democracy, constitutional order, and rule of law. We reaffirm our commitment to the principles enshrined in the OAS Charter and the Inter-American Charter, which provide that democracy is not just a right of the peoples of the Americas, rather it is a shared responsibility of all our states. In that spirit, Chile has asked to be a co-sponsor of the declaration just adopted. We see that Guatemala wants to strengthen its institutions, ensure the powers of the state, and ensure stability in the framework of constitutional order. We reiterate at the same time the importance of respecting democratic processes and not use institutions to undermine democracy. Finally, Chile wants to continue to support Guatemala's efforts to consolidate its democracy and its institutions. Thank you, Chile. St. Lucia has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair St. Lucia aligns itself with the objectives and spirit of this declaration just adopted, which speaks to the very heart of the inter-American system, that of the preservation of democracy, respect for constitutional order, and the rule of law, principles that are fundamental to St. Lucia. We view with concern the recent developments in Guatemala that have tested the resilience of its democratic institutions and the legitimacy of its elected authorities. St. Lucia recognizes the courage and determination of the Guatemalan people and government in defending their democracy against threats that seek to erode public confidence and undermine constitutional governance. The will of the people, freely expressed through transparent and credible elections, must always be the guide of legitimate authority. As a small island developing state, St. Lucia is aware that democracy and the rule of law are indispensable to national stability and social progress. They safeguard not only the integrity of institutions, but also the dignity and rights of citizens. When these values are challenged anywhere in our hemisphere, the collective conscience of the Americas must respond. St. Lucia therefore welcomes the role of the OAS in accompanying the government and people of Guatemala through technical cooperation and political dialogue aimed at strengthening democratic institutions, ensuring judicial independence, and consolidating the rule of law. Such engagement exemplifies the purpose of this council: to stand in solidarity with member states when democracy is threatened, and to help restore confidence in the progress that gives legitimacy to governance. St. Lucia reaffirms its solidarity with the people of Guatemala and encourages all national actors to uphold the constitutional framework of Guatemala. I thank you.
Muchas gracias, Santa Lucía.
Thank you, St. Lucia. Haiti has the floor. Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Haiti reiterates once again its support for the elected authorities in Guatemala. Any attempt to question the political will of the Guatemalan people must be condemned. The defense of democracy is an obligation for all of us. Guatemala is a sister country, and it can count on the solidarity and full support of Haiti in its quest to strengthen democracy. With the unanimous adoption of this declaration, the member states show that they support democratic values that we share. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias, Haití, por su intervención.
Thank you very much, Haiti, for your intervention. I would like to thank the delegations for all of your comments. The Permanent Council has taken due note, and these will be reflected in the minutes of today's meeting. We will now move on to item 4 on today's order of business. Consideration of the draft statement, the impact of Hurricane Melissa and affirming solidarity with affected countries. As the next item on the agenda, and in response to the request made by the delegation of Jamaica, this permanent council will consider the draft declaration entitled The Impact of Hurricane Melissa and Affirming Solidarity with Affected Countries. This was presented by the delegation of Jamaica with the co-sponsorship of the delegations of Barbados, Belize, Colombia, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Uruguay, Canada, and Ecuador. And the draft was circulated to the delegations yesterday evening as document CP Doc 6161/25 Rev 1. To this end, I am now pleased to offer the floor to the delegation of Jamaica for presentation of the aforementioned draft declaration. Jamaica, you have the floor.
Tiene que encender el micrófono.
You have to turn your microphone on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The delegation of Jamaica is pleased to present this declaration. So, Secretary General, Excellencies, I present to this Council, on behalf of the Government of Jamaica, the draft declaration entitled Addressing the Impact of Hurricane Melissa and Affirming Solidarity with Affected Countries. The declaration seeks to strengthen our cooperation and collective action in addressing the challenges being faced by the region and reminds us of the vulnerability of the hemisphere to natural disasters and for us to continue to work together to mitigate against these disasters. I therefore request that this declaration be adopted. By acclamation. My apologies.
Disculpe,
I apologize. I was asking a question in the most important moment. And I thank you for reiterating the statement about acclamation. I am now pleased to offer the floor to any delegation that wishes to intervene. Argentina, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Argentina would like to join in the consensus on the adoption of this declaration in solidarity with the countries affected by Hurricane Melissa. That notwithstanding, my foreign ministry has asked me to hold on to that position. They are reviewing some terms, and we may need to ask for a footnote at some point in the future. Thank you, Argentina. Was this a typo, or has Jamaica asked for the floor again?
A statement. So I wish to express Jamaica's sincere appreciation to you for the inclusion of this very important and urgent matter on today's agenda, and for the expressions of solidarity and support, including from members of the OAS family of nations, extended to the government and people of Jamaica in the wake of the passage of Hurricane Melissa. I extend sincere condolences to the families and communities who have lost loved ones or suffered damage in Jamaica and also in the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. On Tuesday, 28th October, Jamaica faced one of the strongest hurricanes in modern history. Hurricane Melissa, which was the second Category 5 hurricane to impact our region in recent times, made landfall in Jamaica, bringing with it sustained winds of 180 miles per hour or approximately 300 kilometers per hour, torrential rains, and catastrophic storm surges, leaving behind unprecedented damage across the island, with the western end of the island most badly affected. Thus far, we have confirmed 32 fatalities, and tragically, that number is expected to rise as clearing and relief operations continue, particularly in areas that remain inaccessible due to blocked or destroyed roads and bridges, flooding, and landslides. Critical infrastructure, including 5 hospitals, schools, community facilities, and communication networks, have either been damaged or destroyed. The electricity and telecommunications systems are largely inoperable in the most impacted parts of the country, and thousands of homes have been destroyed or rendered uninhabitable. The agricultural sector, a vital pillar of Jamaica's economy, and which is crucial for the country's food security, has suffered extensive losses. Initially, 77% of the country experienced power outages and lost access to the internet and water supply disruptions. Displaced persons are currently being housed in emergency shelters. While the government of Jamaica has mobilized its disaster response mechanisms and available national resources, these require supplementation. We are working to reach all affected communities. The priority at this stage is to save lives, restore essential services, provide shelter, food, water, and medical care to those most in need. The scale of the disaster has strained our national capacity to fully respond with the speed required. We are therefore thankful to the many countries and the donor community for their extensive support, which is buttressing ongoing national efforts. We are grateful to the OAS and Secretary General Ramdin for his support, and our OAS brothers and sisters, particularly El Salvador, who has provided a fully self-sustaining team of 300 personnel and necessary supplies to effect the entire range of disaster response activities on the ground, the United States government, who rapidly deployed search and rescue teams, a DART supplies and much-needed significant helicopter support to reach inaccessible communities. I also recognize the contributions of Barbados, Colombia, the Dominican Republic, Guyana, Peru, St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, and Venezuela. We recognize that there may be other countries that have contributed that are not on this list because of the dynamism of the environment. We thank them all. There are also many observer nations who, through bilateral arrangements, have provided significant support to Jamaica, including field hospitals. We thank our regional agencies, such as SEDEMA, CARFA, and the Caribbean Development Bank for their immediate outreach. We welcome the indications from many other bilateral partners that they are finalizing their internal arrangements to support Jamaica. Mr. Chair, the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa underscores once again the existential threat posed by natural disasters to small island developing states, such as Jamaica, and is also a stark reminder that the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events are escalating beyond historical norms. It is therefore imperative that as a hemisphere we strengthen our collective action on disaster response and resilience and appropriate reconstruction methodologies. In this moment of crisis, Jamaica draws strength from the solidarity of our friends and partners. We remain confident that we can and will overcome the immense challenges before us and rebuild a stronger, safer, and more resilient country. We will build back better. In closing, I wish to assure the Council that Jamaica remains committed to working closely with the OAS and our hemispheric partners as we navigate this difficult period towards recovery and long-term reconstruction. I thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention. The Bahamas has the floor.
Good morning, all. The Bahamas extends its immense sympathy and solidarity to the governments and peoples of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba, who continue to endure the severe consequences of Hurricane Melissa. The devastation across Jamaica in particular is profound and heartbreaking. Although the Bahamas was spared a direct landfall, our islands nevertheless experienced significant disruptions, air traffic interruptions, precautionary evacuations, and costly flooding, reminding us once again of our shared exposure and inextricable destiny as small island and coastal states. For the Bahamas, this moment is deeply resonant. 6 years ago, Hurricane Dorian, the strongest Atlantic hurricane to make landfall, inflicted over $3 billion of losses and damages, a figure exceeding 1/4 of our national GDP. Today, Hurricane Melissa, almost equal in force, has visited similar devastation upon our sister Jamaica, and we therefore do not speak as observers from afar. We speak as a people who have carried the weight of unforgettable loss, who understand the magnitude of recovery, and who believe profoundly in the duty of regional solidarity. Chair, this hurricane is not an isolated tragedy. It is a symptom of worsening pattern. The 3 strongest hurricanes ever to make landfall in the Americas have all occurred in the past 8 years. This is not coincidence nor fate, and certainly not a figment of our imagination. It is the direct result of rising sea surface temperatures, accelerated atmospheric warming, and a global climate system under acute human-induced stress. To censor its existence or ignore this reality is to consign future generations to a less secure, less prosperous, and less livable world. It is for this reason that our Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Philip Davis, has consistently emphasized that the resilience of a small island developing state lies not in isolation, but in unity, preparedness, and collective action. The Bahamas therefore stands ready to support Jamaica's recovery efforts, working in collaboration with CARICOM, SEDEMA, and international partners, including the Organization of American States. Chair, climate resilience is not only about rebuilding what was lost. It is about rebuilding differently, sustainably, justly, and also smartly. In our capacity as current chair of the Inter-American Committee on Sustainable Development, the Bahamas therefore urges member states and permanent observers to renew its support for the Inter-American Climate Change Action Plan 2023-2030, and this framework endorsed by our government sets out concrete goals for integrated disaster risk reduction, renewable energy transition and security, water resource management, strengthening access to affordability and availability of development and climate finance for vulnerable economies. For many of our countries, a single hurricane can erase 10, 20, or even 30% of our GDP, or 10, 20, 30 years of our past and prospective development horizons overnight. No insurance mechanism, no contingency fund, no national budget can absorb that scale of impact without international partnership. We do not ask for charity. We ask for fairness, predictability, and a timely access to resources to protect our people from a crisis they did not create. In this regard, the Bahamas is honored to co-sponsor the draft declaration, but that is before this Council. We urge its adoption as a tangible signal of hemispheric unity and relevance to the peoples we represent. Chair, the Caribbean is always rebuilt, not because storms were weak, but because our spirit and our people are strong. Yet resilience must not be romanticized. It must be resourced. If this organization is to remain relevant to the realities of its most climate vulnerable members, then climate action, climate adaptation, and loss and damage financing must occupy a more central and consistent place in its political and cooperation agenda. The Bahamas remains committed to working with all member states and partners to ensure that no nation of our hemisphere is left to face this new era of supercharged storms alone. Chair, we therefore look forward to the convening of the Inter-American Committee on Natural Disaster Reduction. And Chair, we thank you and we thank this Council for its kind attention.
Muchas gracias.
And thank you very much, Bahamas. Guatemala has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. My delegation would like to thank you for including this item on today's order of business. On behalf of the government of Guatemala, we express our solidarity with the peoples of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, the Bahamas, and Cuba after the devastating Hurricane Melissa. We share our most sincere condolences to families who've lost loved ones. and who now have to find a path forward. Hurricane Melissa, which was a Category 5 when it made landfall, is one of the most powerful in the history of the Caribbean. It caused catastrophic floodings, mudslides, and other deaths and devastation. The impact of the hurricane makes us recall the vulnerabilities that our nations share vis-a-vis the increasingly intense effects of climate change, and we must strengthen our capacity to respond. Mr. Chairman, Guatemala has had its own experiences with natural disasters. We understand the human costs and social and economic costs of a disaster of this magnitude. We believe that international cooperation and solidarity will help towards a quick recovery rather than a prolonged disaster. The draft delegation presented by the delegation of Jamaica reflects the principles of the OAS Charter: solidarity, cooperation, integral development, and we reiterate our commitment, along with the organization, to support the countries affected as they move to rebuild. This shows the key role of the organization through the Inter-American Commission on Integral Development, as well as the Commission, as well as the Inter-American Commission for Sustainable Development, the Inter-American Committee on Natural Disasters, and the Fund on Assistance in Emergencies. It is important to strengthen them so that we can provide timely, coordinated responses to natural disasters that are increasingly aggravated by climate change. The Inter-American System and other multilateral organizations and financial institutions must continue to mobilize resources for the affected countries as established by the Declaration. Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, the mutual support expressed in today's meeting reflects the spirit that must continue to guide our organization and land on specific actions that will help to strengthen our sister countries with emphasis on preventing risk, integral management, and long-term actions to reduce the vulnerability of our societies. In this spirit, we reaffirm our commitment to work with the countries affected and the region as we work to build resilience in the case of natural disasters. Thank you very much. Thank you, Guatemala. Grenada has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, colleagues, Grenada extends heartfelt solidarity to the government and people of Jamaica and all sister nations ravaged or touched by Hurricane Melissa: Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, Bermuda, among them. The destruction across these countries has been heartbreaking and still sobering. Lives have been lost, livelihoods erased, and the fragile gains of economic growth, of recovery, swept away in a single night. Once again, the Caribbean family finds itself rebuilding from ruin, while holding fast and strong to hope. Chair, for Grenada, this tragedy strikes very close to home. Barely a year has passed since Hurricane Beryl devastated our own and other Eastern Caribbean islands, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia among them. Even today, we continue to repair homes, restore farms, and heal communities. So when we witness Jamaica and the others facing Melissa's aftermath, we do not observe from a distance. We remember. We remember the sound of the wind. We remember the silence that followed and the slow accounting for the losses, as expressed in the intervention of the distinguished ambassador of Jamaica a moment ago. That shared memory gives us both empathy and perspective. It tells us that while these storms make landfall on individual shores, their impact reverberates through every island, every economy, every family across our seas, indeed, every nation in our region. It is for this reason, Chair, that we urge my delegation the immediate activation and convening of the Inter-American Committee on Disaster Reduction as supporting the call of the delegation of Bahamas. The committee already exists within the OAS structure to coordinate preparedness, response, and resilience across this hemisphere. Let us breathe some life into it on this occasion. When mobilized, it brings together OAS, PAHO, IDB, CDB, among others, and other regional agencies that deliver timely technical aid, harmonized data, and coherent reconstruction planning, but it is done together and it is coordinated. That is the bridge between sympathy expressed here and the relief delivered there. By coordination, we mean we work together, we resource together, we support and share. And coordination must work hand in hand with financing that reflects the vulnerability. And resilience, as we plan for it, should include the work that we do in that committee as well. As Prime Minister of Grenada, Dickon Mitchell, reminds us, resilience cannot mean simply to suffer and endure and receive some help. It must mean to adapt, to transform to sustainable development and to places of mitigation in a sustainable manner. Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, has said, transformation is impossible without fairness. Fairness in how vulnerability is measured and how assistance is released. Chair, Grenada therefore recognizes this declaration that we've adopted as a starting point, an affirmation of solidarity that should lead to structured cooperation and measurable action. We invite the Council to embed in its forthcoming discussions and agendas the practical elements that can give real substance to that intent. The activation of the IACDR, the creation of vulnerability-based models or windows, and strengthened institutional coordination to assist Jamaica and the others with recovery. If we achieve that, then the losses of Beryl and Melissa, painful as they are, will have been endured not in vain. They will have taught us how to prepare together, how to rebuild smarter, how to protect the generations that follow, and how to ensure that next year's hurricane doesn't meet us in the same way. Let this Council's voice today affirm in the Americas that disaster will not define us, that climate change will not trample us, but our unity and our resolve will take us forward. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Grenada. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the delegation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines welcomes the adoption of the draft declaration addressing the impact of Hurricane Melissa and affirming solidarity with affected countries. On behalf of the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Permanent Mission conveys its profound solidarity and support to all countries impacted by Hurricane Melissa during the past week. Fully aware of the devastating impact of any hurricane, and especially of a Category 5 hurricane, my delegation stands united with the Bahamas, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, and all of the affected countries during this time of loss, grief, and unspeakable difficulty. We therefore express our deepest condolences to the families of those who tragically lost their lives because of the hurricane. We here reaffirm our commitment to the ideals of regional cooperation and mutual assistance as guarantors of survival in the face of the existential threats posed by the climate crisis. Chair, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is no stranger to catastrophic damage and loss of this scope and magnitude. On July 1st, 2024, Hurricane Beryl impacted many of the islands in our multi-island state, leaving in its wake death, destruction, and the potential for despair. However, in the spirit of resilience that defines our people, and through the visionary leadership of an administration which has had to steer our country and people through rescue, relief, recovery, and reconstruction multiple times in the past decade, our people stand today, determined to survive. We stand also because of the collective efforts of our sister nations and partners. Recognizing the important role of solidarity and cooperation, we are poised to reciprocate and ensure that the economic fallout of these frequent and intense hurricanes does not set the region back and hamper our multidimensional development, because our people matter, and they matter greatly. Our Caribbean region is vulnerable to exogenous shocks. Our small economies are fragile, placing populations at risk of poverty with all that it entails, affecting the critical sectors of health, education, agriculture, and tourism, our lifeblood, the engines of our economies. Chair, our Caribbean region is not unique in its vulnerability to natural and other disasters. However, our vulnerability is increased exponentially by scarcity and the lack of access to the resources which are essential for effective disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. This limited access to financial, technical, and infrastructural support often hampers our ability to build resilience and to swiftly restore normality in the aftermath of such events. It is therefore imperative that we continue to advocate for greater international cooperation and equitable access to resources so that our nations may better withstand and recover from the increasing frequency and intensity of disasters. In closing, Chair, my delegation reiterates its condolences to the bereaved and reaffirms its solidarity with the affected communities. We express the abiding hope that through regional and hemispheric cooperation and coordination, including in the inter-American and UN systems, the special case of vulnerable, small developing countries will receive due attention and the climate financing necessary to save lives. I thank you for the courtesy of your attention.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to let you know that at 1 o'clock we will decide whether or not we will continue or if we will take a break and then continue on with the pending interventions in the afternoon. It will depend on how long each intervention takes. Costa Rica now has the floor. Mr. Chairman, Ambassador Anthony Anderson, and members of the Permanent Mission of Jamaica to the OAS, delegates, on behalf of Costa Rica, I'm taking the floor to express our solidarity with the countries affected by Hurricane Melissa. In this regard, I would like to allow me to read the official communique issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Worship on October 30th, 2025. The government of the Republic of Costa Rica expresses its most sincere condolences for the loss of human lives in the Caribbean countries, particularly in Jamaica, the Bahamas, Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, as a result of the passage of Hurricane Melissa. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Worship expresses its solidarity with the victims and their families, as well as with the governments and peoples of the affected nations. In view of the serious damage caused to infrastructure, housing, and basic services. Costa Rica also expresses its firm hope that the affected countries will be able to surmount the losses caused by this natural disaster. Mr. Chairman, Costa Rica unwaveringly supports the declaration presented by the Permanent Mission of Jamaica to the OAS, and that has been adopted by this Permanent Council by acclamation, and the spirit of solidarity that characterizes us. Our country was also affected by the passage of Hurricane Melissa, albeit on a smaller scale, meaning we understand even more personally the difficult circumstances our sister Caribbean nations are facing today. Costa Rica reiterates our commitment to regional cooperation and to the strengthening of response and resilience capabilities in the face of disasters that, with increasing frequency, put our nations to the test. Solidarity for Costa Rica must not be limited to support in difficult times, but must translate into concrete actions that strengthen prevention, adaptation, and sustainable reconstruction in our region. Thank you very much.
Costa Rica.
Thank you, Costa Rica. Trinidad and Tobago have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Trinidad and Tobago joins others in expressing our profound sympathy and solidarity with the government and people of Jamaica who have suffered immense loss and destruction as a result of Hurricane Melissa, as well as Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, the Bahamas, and others who have felt its immense impact. We extend heartfelt condolences to the families who have lost loved ones and those whose homes and livelihoods have been severely affected by this catastrophic event. Our delegation commends the Permanent Mission of Jamaica for taking the initiative to present this declaration, which has been adopted by acclamation today. We are honored to have co-sponsored this important text, which captures both the urgency of the moment and the spirit of hemispheric unity that lies at the heart of our organization. The unprecedented scale and intensity of Hurricane Melissa, driven by record sea surface temperatures and the accelerating impacts of the climate crisis, is a sobering reminder of the vulnerability of our region, especially small island developing states and low-lying coastal nations. This intensification and frequency of extreme weather events reinforce the reality that climate change is not a distant threat, but an immediate and existential one. It also underscores the urgent need for collective and sustained action in accordance with the Inter-American Charter, which recognizes the protection of human life and the promotion of human security as essential to democratic stability and sustainable development. Trinidad and Tobago recalls the OAS General Assembly resolutions on advancing hemispheric efforts to combat climate change in the Americas, as well as the one on natural disaster risk reduction, management, and response, which reaffirm the organization's role in promoting cooperation and supporting member states in building resilience, strengthening early warning systems, and mobilizing resources for recovery and reconstruction. In this regard, we commend the ongoing work of the Inter-American Committee on National Disaster Reduction and the Department of Sustainable Development, which together provide valuable mechanisms for coordination and technical support across the Americas. We call for the reinvigoration of the Inter-American Plan for Disaster Prevention and Response and the coordination of humanitarian assistance as a vital framework for the regional collaboration in the aftermath of disasters such as Hurricane Melissa. Mr. Chair, Trinidad and Tobago believes that this declaration offers not only a timely expression of solidarity, but also a renewed call for action-oriented cooperation to strengthen disaster preparedness, to integrate climate resilience into national development planning, and to enhance access to climate finance, particularly for adaptation and recovery. We also underscore the importance of engaging our Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, the Inter-American Development Bank, and other partners to ensure coordinated responses that align with national priorities. For our part, and particularly recognizing that Jamaica experienced the most direct and catastrophic impact of Hurricane Melissa, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago established an interministerial committee chaired by the Minister of Foreign and Caribbean Affairs to coordinate national relief efforts and the delivery of humanitarian assistance to Jamaica. Containers filled with essential supplies were promptly deployed in the wake of Hurricane Melissa to address some of the most immediate needs. Other agencies, including the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, and the country's business chambers have been mobilized as part of the collective national contribution to recovery efforts. These efforts reflect our firm belief that solidarity must be demonstrated in action. As the declaration urges, it is imperative that the OAS Secretariat and the Secretary General continue to engage the wider inter-American system and international partners to mobilize resources and ensure coordinated, needs-based support to affected states. Finally, our delegation reaffirms that no member state should face these challenges alone. The collective response of this Council must reflect the spirit of Inter-American Charter and shared responsibility that underpins our organization. Trinidad and Tobago stands ready to support efforts through the OAS and other regional mechanisms to assist affected member states in rebuilding stronger, safer, and more resilient communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Barbados has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, growing up in the Caribbean, almost every child of school age knew this refrain about the Atlantic hurricane season, and it went like this. June too soon, July standby, August look out you must, September remember, October all over. The Atlantic hurricane season now officially runs from June 1 to November 30th. In late October, a period when, according to the aforementioned refrain, there was unlikely to have this type of activity, saw Hurricane Melissa, a powerful Category 5 hurricane, barreling down the northern Caribbean, resulting in significant loss of lives, catastrophic damage, widespread flooding, particularly in Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, and the Bahamas. It was one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes ever to make landfall. Barbados extends its heartfelt condolences and lends its unwavering support to the affected countries. Early estimates suggest damages and economic losses could reach as much as $52 billion across the Caribbean, with heavy agricultural losses to coffee, cassava, and bananas. The hurricane has severely impacted key economic sectors like agriculture and tourism. Restoring livelihoods will be difficult, increasing food insecurity and putting pressure on already vulnerable economies. The high cost of rebuilding will further strain national budgets that are already stretched and will lead to increased national debt or necessitate innovative financing mechanisms, which only partially cover losses. The sheer scale of destruction to homes, infrastructure, and utilities requires a rebuilding effort rather than simple repairs, a process that will be slow and resource-intensive. Geographic isolation and damaged ports will make it difficult and costly to transport construction materials and essential supplies, extending recovery timelines significantly. Restoring reliable electricity and clean water infrastructure is a long-term project. The lack of these basic services can lead to secondary disasters. There's also a need to rebuild more resilient infrastructure to withstand future potentially more intense climate events. Integrating climate change adaptation into recovery plans is essential to avoid repeating past mistakes. On October 31st, Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Amar Motley, in delivering much-needed supplies of cots, tarpaulins, and emergency generators, as well as 5,000 food kits from the World Food Programme from the new Caribbean Regional Logistics Hub located at the Grantley Adams International Airport in Barbados, was keen to note that the hub has enabled faster support to Jamaica following Hurricane Melissa. The Caribbean Regional Logistics Hub, which was inaugurated just ahead of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season, is designed to store and dispatch critical relief items to affected communities in case of a disaster. The hub's strategic location at the Grantley Adams International Airport, as well as its proximity to the main highway and port facilities, allows for both air and sea operations during an emergency response. The logistics hub has supported disaster relief organizations in the region to be better able to respond faster and more effectively. The hub also allows stocks and essential supplies to be much closer to the places where the hazards actually happen. Through collaboration with the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA, the Government of Barbados, and other key stakeholders, plans are in place to expand the facility. Hurricane Melissa has reminded us yet again that our region lives on the front line of a climate crisis we did not create. Rapid attribution studies suggest that human-induced climate change made Hurricane Melissa 4 times more likely and increased its wind speeds due to unusually warm ocean temperatures, contributing to its extreme ferocity. This is why this declaration matters. It speaks not only to relief, but to equity, to the right of our people to rebuild without being crushed by debt. It calls upon us to use a multidimensional vulnerability index, not as a talking point, but as a tool to open the doors to concessional financing that can build resilience, not dependency. It calls on us to seriously consider how we calculate vulnerability beyond just GDP in climate financing so that it reflects both geographic realities and fiscal constraints. For the record, we are not here to seek charity. We came to advocate. We came to seek partnership. We seek the moral recognition that those who pollute the least should not be made to pay the highest price. Today, Barbados stands firmly behind this declaration. We commend the pen holders and all partners working to mobilize resources, to strengthen early warning systems, to expand climate-related debt clauses, and to bring to life the Loss and Damage Fund. Not next year, not in theory, but now, when our people need it most. We are one hemisphere bound by a shared ocean and a shared destiny. If we
Well, thank you. Puede remitirnos.
Please, can you send us the rest of your intervention in writing? We would appreciate it. Brazil has the floor. Thank you so much, and we thank Initiative of Jamaica for including this draft declaration on our order of business. And Brazil has been following closely what has happened with respect to Hurricane Melissa, which has affected Jamaica, Cuba, Bahamas, among others. We would like to express our condolences to those countries that have lost loved ones. And among other actions that we're considering, we want to also share maps that we have based on satellite imagery, as well as providing other kinds of material help. Of course, Hurricane Melissa is an extreme example of what is affecting our region as far as natural disasters are concerned because of climate change. Next week at COP30, the international community will be able to support its commitment to sustainable development with an agenda that is effective for everyone on the planet, especially for the most vulnerable countries in our region. Equity is key to take world climate action. Although developing countries have almost not contributed at all to climate change, they are the ones that are hardest hit. We must have a differentiated approach with regard to resilience in the Caribbean and for other countries in development. We need to strengthen natural disaster prevention. We participated in the meeting of ministers for sustainable development, and we want to again reiterate our commitment to the agreements worked out at that meeting. We would like to also support the Inter-American Committee on Natural Disaster Reduction. We believe it's important to work using the MECODE platform, which is located at the Inter-American Board, IADB. And so we need to coordinate with other regional initiatives and sub-regional initiatives. And finally, we reiterate our willingness to continue to cooperate with Caribbean countries to manage natural disasters through the Cooperation Fund under the Secretariat for Integral Development. We want to have a clear analysis of different teledetection imagery that we have in the region. Thank you. Paraguay has the floor. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. My delegation would like to express its solidarity and its support to the peoples of Jamaica, Haiti, Bahamas, and the Dominican Republic due to the impact of Hurricane Melissa on their people and their countries. And we offer our condolences and regret all of the property and lives lost. Hurricane Melissa shows us once again how vulnerable our countries are with respect to these kinds of disasters and why it's important to strengthen resilience in our communities, to respond effectively, quickly, and humanely when we have disasters, protect those most exposed, and also use every means to help those affected. We would also like to especially mention the hotel industry in Jamaica. They help protect our people who were located there. And we would like to thank Costa Rica and Argentina, who have their missions in Kingston and also provided help to our Paraguayan diplomats. We fully support the declaration that was adopted by acclamation. It is a sign of solidarity that unites our countries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paraguay, for your intervention. Honduras has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. The delegation of Honduras would first of all like to express its solidarity with the delegation of Jamaica, and we'd like to thank it for including this item on our order of business and for presenting the draft declaration. We want to express our solidarity to those countries affected. Our president, Xiomara Castro, has expressed her solidarity with the brother countries of the Caribbean who were devastated by Hurricane Melissa, one of the strongest hurricanes that we have seen in recent history. We are closely following reports from Haiti, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Cuba, and the Bahamas. We see the loss of life and destruction of entire communities, and this shows us we need more cooperation in the hemisphere with respect to natural disasters. The people and government of Honduras have recently understood how vulnerable we are. We had intense rain that led to mudslides in several regions in our country. Our president had to declare a state of an emergency through a decree to be able to address the damage in Morazan, Lempira, and other regions. In that context, Honduras would like to thank the assistance of this organization and the solidarity of the Inter-American system, which enshrines the spirit of what brings us here today. Hurricane Melissa recalls for us that natural disasters know no borders and that no country can actually address the challenges that natural disasters pose. We support the declaration presented by Jamaica, and we want to, again, support anything that will help the countries. And we believe that we need a hemispheric effort for reconstruction. We, again, would like to express our solidarity. We believe that resilience in our region can only be strengthened through unity. Thank you. Thank you, Honduras. Chile has the floor. Thank you, Chair. Chile would like to join with those that have expressed solidarity and condolences due to the loss of life from Hurricane Melissa. Chile knows the strength and the results of natural disasters, and so we must express solidarity. We reaffirm our commitment to humanitarian assistance and strengthening of regional and multilateral mechanisms which allow for coordinated action. At the same time, we make an appeal to mitigate the climate crisis. Only together can we mitigate the adverse effects of climate change and have a more resilient future for all. Thank you. Thank you, Chile. Peru has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Peru expresses its deep solidarity with Caribbean countries that have been affected by Melissa. Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, among others. And our condolences to all families who have lost loved ones and all of those who are facing the horrible consequences of this tragedy. In these difficult moments, we reiterate our commitment to support those countries affected through cooperation and humanitarian assistance actions. Our foreign minister sent a letter to the minister, Camilla Johnson, in Jamaica, expressing our willingness to help. A plane also was sent from Peru to Jamaica to provide tents and all kinds of materials, as well as facilitating the return of our compatriots who were stuck in Jamaica. This was led up by the Foreign Ministry together with the Institute for Civilian Defense, among others, shows our solidarity and our willingness to try to contribute to the resilience of the communities in the Caribbean with respect to natural disasters. With respect to the declaration presented by Jamaica, we want to reiterate our full backing of this declaration, which we expressed yesterday to the Jamaican delegation. We believe that shows the hemispheric solidarity and the support of international cooperation when faced with natural disasters. The OAS plays an important role as a coordinator of assistance. Hurricane Melissa reminds us of the challenges that climate crisis is posing to our region. Peru reiterates the urgency of strengthening hemispheric cooperation with respect to natural disaster management, prevention, and mitigation. We renew our commitment to actively participate through the OAS and the Inter-American system to ensure a hemisphere that is more resilient with respect to climate change. Thank you. Thank you for your intervention. United States.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The United States extends its sincere condolences to the people and government of Jamaica and to all those across the Caribbean who continue to suffer the effects of Hurricane Melissa. We recognize the extraordinary hardship faced by families who have lost loved ones, homes, and livelihoods, and we commend the government of Jamaica for its swift and coordinated national response under very difficult circumstances. As the Council is aware, Hurricane Melissa made landfall on October 28th as a Category 5 storm, striking Jamaica's southwest and northwest coast with catastrophic force. In the aftermath, the United States moved quickly to provide direct humanitarian support through our mission in Kingston and the U.S. Department of War. On Monday, subsequently, the U.S. funded urban search and rescue teams deployed to the hardest hit northern parishes, Kay Valley, Monique, Pedro River, Brownstown, and Mount Zion, to reach isolated communities. Joint Task Force Bravo airlifted emergency food, water, and shelter supplies to Montego Bay and Black River, delivering more than 2,000 food packs and 110 cases of water, with each pack designed to sustain a family of 4 for 48 hours. Over the coming days, the United States will deliver more than $600,000 in additional relief supplies, including 6,000 tarps, 6,000 shelter repair kits, and 120 hygiene kits from our warehouse in Miami. Our embassy in Kingston continues to coordinate with Jamaican authorities and regional partners to support recovery operations. Consular staff have assisted U.S. citizens in affected areas, established emergency connectivity through Starlink, and arranged safe transport for travelers from Montego Bay to Kingston. We are grateful to the government of Jamaica, the Jamaica Defense Force, and other responders for their collaboration in ensuring the safety of all residents and visitors. Mr. Chair, the United States remains committed to the disaster preparedness, humanitarian response, and resilience building in our hemisphere. At the same time, we believe the Council's focus should remain on areas of broad agreement and tangible cooperation. The United States will not support text or formulations that extend beyond the OAS's established mandates or introduce calls to mobilize resources and support regarding climate change or development financing. While we support the spirit of solidarity expressed today, in today's declaration, we have serious reservations with language linking the climate crisis or climate change to any supposed mandate at the OAS to support new global financing commitments. Moreover, these issues are being debated in other, more appropriate international fora, and these debates should not be duplicated here. For that reason, the United States is unable to join consensus on this text and will submit a formal footnote reflecting our procedural and substantive concerns. Mr. Chair, the United States believes the OAS should focus its attention, time, and resources on practical cooperation that saves lives, restores communities, and strengthens resilience, rather than advancing language that lacks consensus among all member states. In that spirit, we reaffirm our strong bilateral partnership with Jamaica and the people of the Caribbean. Our commitment is concrete, immediate, and ongoing, measured not in declarations, but in rescue teams, relief flights, and recovery support already on the ground. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your intervention. Haiti has the floor. Thank you, Chair. Chair, between 29 October 2025, Hurricane Melissa has caused property damage on the southern coast of Haiti and caused 19 deaths, among them 10 children. Our country has also 12 people who are disappeared, 10 injured, 160 homes damaged, and 150 families left without a home. Given the loss of life and the property damage in Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, the Bahamas, we ask for solidarity and strengthen regional cooperation. Haiti would like to express its condolences to other nations, Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, for the loss of life and the economic losses. And we make an appeal to the region and to the inter-American system to strengthen hemispheric cooperation with respect to the fight against natural catastrophes and to have a system that can respond to natural catastrophes. Chair, the climate crisis and the natural disasters have a devastating effect on island countries that have modest economies. And there must be special attention paid to them at an international level to find the mechanisms that are more appropriate for them and cooperation systems that are stronger to be able to address this problem. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Haití.
Thank you, Haiti. We're going to go till 1:30 to see if we can wrap up this item. And if we don't finish at 1:30, then we will come back after lunch. But we're hoping to be able to finish up. Of course, it depends on how long everyone's interventions are. Panama, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I address this Honorable Permanent Council on behalf of the Republic of Panama to express our support for the draft declaration presented by Jamaica and the Dominican Republic on the devastating impact of Hurricane Melissa. Recently, the Caribbean has been shaken by a 5-scale hurricane, and it made landfall on the Caribbean, and it left a wake of destruction in Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and the Bahamas. We are talking about human loss, and and entire communities that have been displaced, collapsed infrastructure, and very affected communities. Panama, as a bridge between two oceans, is well aware of how vulnerable our region is to extreme weather events. We therefore express our most heartfelt condolences to families who have lost loved ones, and we express our unwavering support for the affected countries. These catastrophes remind us once again that these are not distant threats. It is something that is pressing, that hits Central American countries and island countries particularly hard. The climate crisis is generating increasingly intense hurricanes. These are phenomena that challenge our ability to respond and recover. Billions of dollars in losses will affect vital sectors like tourism, fishing, which are fundamental pillars of the economies of these countries. Recovery is hampered by massive power shortages. This requires immediate and coordinated responses. Panama is sounding an urgent call to the inter-American community to respond with solidarity and cooperation that the OAS Charter that we undertook as a commitment under the Charter. We have to work within our capacity to respond to the specific needs that these countries have identified. We recognize and value the untiring work of the General Secretariat of the OAS, SEDI, the Inter-American Committee for Disaster Reduction, the Inter-American Fund for Assistance in Cases of Emergency, FUNDEM, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, the Inter-American Institute for Agricultural Cooperation, ICA, as well as other organs of the Inter-American system. We urge you to continue to coordinate efforts with the international community, the UN, financial institutions, to mobilize the resources necessary for recovery. Chair and esteemed colleagues, we must address the structural causes of this growing vulnerability. It is imperative that we strengthen our early warning systems and to build resilient infrastructure to help us to improve and reduce risks and act with greater ambition to mitigate the climate crisis. Vulnerable countries like small island states need urgent access to climate funding that is affordable and adequate. We cannot ask them to tackle alone a crisis that is international origin but has very serious local consequences. Panama supports the strengthening of the Inter-American Committee on strengthening natural disasters and FUNDEM. We need more nimble and effective instruments for protection, preparation, in the case of disasters. At this critical time, we must remember that inter-American solidarity is not just a declared principle, but a commitment to action. Mr. Chairman, Panama extends a call to all member states to join in this expression of solidarity and reiterates its support for this declaration. Thank you. Thank you, Panama. Mexico has the floor. And thank you, Chair. Mexico supports this declaration, recognizing that all climate action must have at its heart individuals, a justice, and a human rights approach. My delegation expresses its deepest condolences to the governments and peoples affected and reaffirms its solidarity with the victims, encouraging hemispheric cooperation to address the devastating effects of this natural phenomenon, strengthening national capacity and international cooperation is a pressing need due to the increasingly serious extreme weather and meteorological events that are a result of climate change. These have a serious impact on individuals, the economy's sustainable development, and the survival of present and future generations. We regret the human and material losses and the impact on families and communities, economies, and infrastructure of the affected countries. Mexico underscores that it is urgent to promote climate action that will allow us to prevent and to resiliently tackle their impacts. We also support strengthening capabilities, adaptation, and mitigation to guarantee financial flows that are consistent to assist countries, developing countries as part of the inter-American system and as well as internationally. This must be done under the principle of shared but differentiated responsibilities. We reiterate the importance of strengthening the Sendai and reducing disasters 2015 to 2030 that the member states present here adopted in the framework of the United Nations, particularly in terms of investment to increase prevention and resilience through effective preparedness that includes recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction to address the challenges in a comprehensive way. Mr. Chairman, my country supports this declaration, and we express our solidarity with our sister countries in the Caribbean. We express the need to galvanize efforts in the region for the adoption, implementation of measures and strategies that address these realities for hemispheric multilateralism that is effective and focused on the dignity of individuals, particularly those who are most vulnerable. Thank you. Thank you, Mexico. Guyana has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Guyana delegation joins other delegations in expressing our sadness and deep concern about the loss of lives and damages to property and infrastructure caused by Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and the Bahamas. We stand in solidarity with and offer our support to the governments and peoples, particularly as they seek to respond and recover from this extreme event. In the face of the immediate challenge before us, Guyana has mobilized support for the most affected through a broad national response team under the leadership of Prime Minister Mark Phillips. The team includes our Civil Defense Commission, the Guyana Defense Force, the Ministry of Health, the private sector, and the Guyana Power and Light, and it has mobilized and made an initial deployment of emergency relief supplies to aid immediate recovery and humanitarian response efforts. We take this opportunity to express our gratitude to all partners and agencies who have stepped forward to render assistance. It is the sad reality, though, that even as efforts have begun for the provision of emergency relief and an assessment of the damages, the small and vulnerable countries of the Caribbean must once again point to the contributing factor of exceptionally warm sea surface temperatures to the storm conditions. In July of last year, the Permanent Council had a special meeting to address the impact of Hurricane Beryl and climate resilience. As we meet today, the circumstances of Melissa are much worse, and the impact will be borne for many years to come. It bears repeating that the countries of the Caribbean have consistently called and advocated for urgent action to address global temperatures. The countries that have contributed the most and contribute the most to greenhouse gas emissions must act. Otherwise, we continue to risk the loss of the lives, livelihoods, and structure of those who have from independence, and despite numerous challenges and vulnerabilities, labored towards development. As our leaders head into COP30 in Brazil, my delegation once again stresses the need for significantly improved availability of and access to climate finance and investment, to address the loss and damage funds capitalization and modalities, and the need for institutional change among international financial institutions and multilateral development banks to ensure better alignment with climate and sustainable development goals and the needs and priorities of developing countries. We know what the challenges are. We know what the competing priorities are. We also know that the impacts of climate change lead to multidimensional vulnerabilities which affect the protection of human rights, worsen gender disparities, devastate economies, and cause displacement and migration. We must find effective ways to act individually and collectively if we are to ensure a sustainable future for us all. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Guyana. The Dominican Republic has the floor. Thank you, Chair. The delegation of the Dominican Republic would first like to sincerely thank the sister delegation of Jamaica for its leadership in submitting this valuable draft declaration at a time that is very sensitive to the region. Our country has formally expressed its willingness to co-sponsor this initiative and our firm commitment to the principles of solidarity and inter-American cooperation which underpin this organization. Hurricane Melissa has left a very painful footprint on the region. In the Dominican Republic, we had torrential rains, serious floods, mudslides, more than 80 communities left isolated, and major impact on agricultural and road infrastructure, as well as its impact on human lives. And more than 5,000 people lost access to drinking water because of the collapse of different systems. The Dominican Republic has been impacted by Hurricane Melissa, but has started to send humanitarian assistance to Jamaica first through an airlift. In the coming days, we plan to send additional assistance over sea and by air to assist in the recovery in Jamaica and Cuba. We express our deepest solidarity to all affected states and reiterate our willingness to actively contribute within our capabilities to regional assistance and reconstruction efforts. Mr. Chairman, these events reaffirm the urgent need to come up with more effective and resilient regional mechanisms for comprehensive management of risks, response to disasters, and adaptation to climate change. The strengthening of our institutional capabilities, access to climate financing that is both fair and timely, and cooperation among member states must be the pillars of our common agenda. Thank you very much. Colombia has the floor. Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the government of Colombia and President Gustavo Petro, we would like to express our deepest solidarity with Jamaica, Haiti, the Bahamas, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic. We express our fraternal support for families who have lost loved ones and who are working to rebuild their communities. Hurricane Melissa reminds us that climate change is not a future threat. It is a present threat that is having an increasing impact on the region. This requires immediate solidarity and a collective reflection on how to strengthen prevention and disaster response. Hurricane Melissa is the third Category 5 this season. This shows that climate emergencies are increasingly frequent and severe. In many cases, our response continues to be reactive. But the current challenges require us to work together to come up with mechanisms that can anticipate the disasters and help in regional cooperation. Colombia has sent assistance to Cuba and Jamaica, including food, drinking water, and the baby formula, among others, and we have expressed our willingness to continue to work with all affected countries in coordination with their national authorities and the relevant regional mechanisms. Mr. Chairman, the increasing frequency of these external climate events remind us that no country can, on its own, grapple with these challenges. These require multilateral efforts and compliance with the commitments undertaken in the framework of the UN on the Agreement on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement so that we can have a more just solidarity and resilient action. We must have climate action centered on people. And we recognize the right of all individuals to live in a healthy environment and require states to promote protection and the improvement of the natural environment. These principles remind us that prevention and disaster response are not just technical and financial in nature, they are legal and ethical commitments having to do with human rights. Along these same lines, Colombia recalls that the advisory opinion from the Inter-American Court requested by Colombia and Chile together establishes legal obligations of mitigation and international cooperation. The court emphasizes informed participation of communities, especially those that are vulnerable, as well as the protection of essential rights like life, health, water, food, and a healthy environment. This advisory opinion is a legal and ethical roadmap in terms of a regional response to climate change. This is a requirement that is derived from our commitment to human rights. And lastly, we take this opportunity to discuss the necessity to increase this fund, Inter-American Fund, FONDEM, which is useful for providing immediate humanitarian assistance in the case of disasters. The current climate crisis requires us to take a more robust approach to future climate events in the region. Thank you, Colombia. Belize has the floor.
Chair, distinguished delegates, Belize expresses its deep solidarity with the peoples and governments of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and the Bahamas, who felt the devastating impact of Hurricane Melissa, one that all hurricane-prone countries know too well. We extend our heartfelt condolences to our brothers and sisters in CARICOM who have lost loved ones and livelihoods. This tragedy reminds us of our shared vulnerability to the escalating climate crisis and reinforces the urgent need for enhanced and predictable climate financing to support resilience, recovery, and sustainable development. Traditional measures of eligibility for assistance must evolve to reflect multidimensional vulnerability, ensuring that especially for small island developing states and highly vulnerable countries, we can rebuild and be more ready. Belize further underscores the importance of a hemispheric approach to disaster risk management rooted in solidarity and cooperation. Through coordinated action, the Americas can build collective security against the intensifying impacts of climate change. Chair, Belize expresses its full support for the declaration and welcomes its adoption by acclamation.
Gracias, Belice.
Thank you, Belize. Canada has the floor.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of Canada, I would like to express my sincere condolences and solidarity to everyone who was affected by Hurricane Melissa. We recognize the deep effects throughout the Caribbean of this hurricane, as well as the enormous task ahead of us to be able to have utilities, rebuild communities, and to meet people's needs.
Is pleased to be a co-sponsor of this declaration. And on October 29th, Canada announced $7 million in humanitarian assistance for the region. This will go towards life-saving assistance, including the delivery of food and essential supplies. A team of experts is on the ground this week assessing what more Canada can do. Beyond immediate needs, Canadian officials are also assessing operational development programming to see where funds and activities can address shorter-term recovery. We will continue to collaborate with authorities and humanitarian partners to assess recovery needs, which will inform Canada's additional response. We also recognize the importance of fostering both climate and economic resilience, and of supporting long-term recovery that enables communities to emerge out of such disasters stronger, more adaptable, and better prepared for the future. Our thoughts remain with all those affected. Canada stands with you at this time of hardship. Thank you, Chair.
Taylor.
Thank you very much, Canada. St. Lucia has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my delegation welcomes the adoption of this important declaration, which we were proud to co-sponsor. On behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia, we convey our profound solidarity with the government and people of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and the Bahamas, who have endured the devastating impact of Hurricane Melissa. Our thoughts are with the families who have lost loved ones, with the communities that have been displaced, and with all those who now face the painful task of rebuilding lives, homes, and economies in the wake of unimaginable loss. For the Caribbean, the hurricane season is a relentless cycle of vulnerability that strikes at the heart of our existence. Each hurricane leaves scars upon our landscapes and our collective spirit. The intensity and frequency of these disasters are the clearest manifestation of a global climate crisis that small island developing states have long warned the world about. St. Lucia knows too well this anguish of devastation. We know the haunting silence that follows the winds when the sea returns after claiming what it has taken, and the people rise once again to rebuild from the ruins. This is the shared reality of our Caribbean region. We are resilient, yes, yet wary, proud, yet pleading for justice in the face of a crisis we did not create. In the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, personally reached out to his counterpart in Jamaica to convey the solidarity of the government and people of St. Lucia and to assure of our support during this difficult period. The government also took measures to ensure the safety and well-being of St. Lucian students studying in Jamaica, making arrangements for their safe shelter and providing financial resources to them to weather the storm. The National Emergency Management Organization within the Office of the Prime Minister in St. Lucia has begun island-wide mobilization of donations guided by the official needs list provided by the government of Jamaica. The time has come, Chair, for the international community to move beyond sympathy to tangible outcome. Climate finance must no longer be an aspiration discussed in conference halls. It must become an accessible instrument for survival. Support for reconstruction, adaptation, and resilience must be swift, sustained, and fair. The essential threat facing the Caribbean is lived daily through the loss of lives, livelihoods, and heritage. Our people have learned firsthand the risk that climate change poses to our food, water, energy, health, and citizen security, elements that we have all focused on during the discussions for the 10th Summit of the America. St. Lucia therefore calls upon our partners in this hemisphere and beyond to stand with the Caribbean in a new spirit of solidarity. We urge increased investment in early warning systems, resilient infrastructure, and climate-smart economies that can withstand the storms to come. We also underscore the vital role of the OAS through its development and disaster reduction mechanisms in ensuring that no member state is left to face these crises alone. The Caribbean is on the front line of climate change. Yet, we continue to meet adversity with courage, unity, and hope. The peoples of our region have proven time and again that even in the shadow of destruction, we will rebuild. But our resilience must be matched by the resolve of the international community to act with urgency and justice. St. Lucia stands today in steadfast solidarity with all affected nations, reaffirming that the defense of life, the preservation of hope, and the restoration of dignity are the highest expressions of our inter-American community. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. We will go with our last intervention of this session. Uruguay has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. In co-sponsoring this resolution, Uruguay wishes to express our solidarity with Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and the Bahamas, given the human and material losses as a result of Hurricane Melissa. Through a communique, our foreign ministry expressed its willingness to assist Jamaica and the other countries to the best of our ability and express our solidarity with them for their losses. And these extreme phenomena are commonplace now throughout our hemisphere, from Alaska to Patagonia. Uruguay, as a coastal country, it knows very full well and has experienced these types of phenomenon: droughts, floods, hurricanes. We must persist in our actions and in establishing public policies that address the impacts of climate change and the need in the region to have policies in place to address disasters and mitigate climate change. Thank you very much. Thank you, Uruguay. Since it is now 1:27 p.m., we are going to adjourn. We will return at 2:30 to continue on with the remaining requests for the floor, as well as the remaining items on today's order of business.